Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Village of Buffalo Grove Board of Trustees for September 10th, 2012. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll.
President Raymond?
Here.
Trustee Berman?
Here.
Trustee Trilling?
Here.
Trustee Sussman? Here. Trustee Turson?
Here.
Trustee Stein?
Here.
Trustee Ottenheimer?
Here.
Quorum established.
Thank you. First item is approval of minutes. Minutes of August 6, 2012 Village Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any alterations, any comments, questions by anybody on board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Berman?
Aye.
Trilling?
Aye.
Sussman? Aye. Turson?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Ottenheimer?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Stands approved. Next is minutes of the August 20th, 2012 Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
There being motion and second, please call the roll.
Berman?
Aye.
Trilling?
Aye.
Sussman? Aye. Turson?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Ottenheimer?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is under approval of warrant, presentation reading of warrant number 1195, 1196, 1197, and 1198. I see that Mr. Anderson's not here. It's too much work for him, apparently. Kathy Skibby, please read the warrant.
To keep things brief, we combined it all into one report for you.
Very good, thank you.
So, Arboretum Golf, $63,981.77. Building and Zoning, $4,610.17. Buffalo Grove Golf, $37,229.98. Building Maintenance, $18,430.75. Central Garage, $72,142.33. Engineering Services, $194,272.93. Finance and General Services, $203,225.41. Fire, $26,274.91. Forestry, $716.64. Human Resources, $3,825. Information and Technology, $1,690.33. Office of the Village Manager, $24,995.21. Police, $66,159.83. Streets, $7,187.59. Public Works Administration, $49,130.80. And the payroll ending July 29th, 2012, $910,961.12. Payroll ending August 12th, 2012, $874,493.50. And the payroll ending August 26th, 2012, $898,959.36, for a total of $3,458,287.69.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the warrant?
So made.
Is there a second? Any questions with regard to any item on the warrant? There being none, please call the roll.
Berman?
Aye.
Trilling?
Aye.
Sussman? Aye. Turson?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Ottenheimer?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Under Village President's report, I have three fairly short reports. The first is a proclamation regarding National Preparedness Month. No Text Month. Whereas the Village of Buffalo Grove holds the health and safety of its young adults as a chief concern, and whereas text messaging is the main mode of communication for most American teenagers, with half of all teens sending between 20 and 70 texts a day, and whereas 90% of American teenagers expect a reply to a text message within 5 minutes, and whereas texting takes one's eye off the road for an average of 5 seconds, and whereas in an AT&T survey, 43% of American teenage drivers admitted to texting while driving, even though 97% know it's dangerous, and whereas a recent study showed those who send text messages while driving are 23 times more likely to crash, And whereas a driver that sends a text message while driving not only jeopardizes his or her safety, but also the safety of passengers, pedestrians, and other drivers. Now, therefore, I, Village President Jeffrey Brayman, do hereby proclaim September 19th, 2012 as No Text on Board Pledge Day. I encourage all drivers to take a pledge to never text and drive again, proclaimed this 10th day of September 2012. Next is the, special use permit for performing arts facility. The Village Board will be holding a regular meeting prior to its scheduled committee of the whole meeting on Monday, September 24th, 2012, for the purpose of considering a special use permit for the premises located at 225 McHenry Road for a performing arts facility that used to be, or currently known as Beth Am facility, and on the petition of the Buffalo Grove Park District. An agenda will be published for this item in advance of the meeting, will be posted on our website as well. And lastly, I just want to thank a few people. Obviously, we had a very successful Buffalo Grove Days this last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. Hopefully, we'll find out fairly soon if it was financially successful, but I think everybody had a good time, and that's what's important. I just want to thank those who participated, and also specifically the committee. It's an amazing amount of work that it takes a lot of time and patience. Planning starts actually weeks after the event is over. So they'll be meeting shortly to start planning for next year. I want to thank the chairs, J.V. Springman and Paulette Greenberg, for their efforts. Also, all the other chairmen of the subcommittees and all the people who work on the committee. It's an incredible amount of time and effort that they put in, and they really don't get the acknowledgement that they should. And so we not only the board, but the village as a whole appreciates all of your efforts. So thank you. Next is Village Manager's Report. Mr. Bragg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to invite Officer Jim Harris to meet me at the podium, please. Some of you may know, but many people don't know, that we have an award that we give to our employees called the Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award. We've traditionally given those awards at a staff function, and we decided that we wanted to elevate the profile of this award and award it at a council meeting, a board meeting, excuse me. For the first quarter of 2012, Steve Husak, Tom Reed, and Danielle Barron all three nominated Officer Jim Harris for the Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award, and I will read their nomination for you. On March 2nd, a tornado devastated an area of Kentucky that Officer Harris has family ties to. After seeing the newspaper coverage of the damage, Jim began to think about what he could do to help the people in the area. He decided that he would travel south with needed supplies, as requested in various newspaper articles that he had read. As he began to plan what he was going to bring, he sent a message to Buffalo Grove Village employees asking them for help. Jim was overwhelmed by the generosity of the Buffalo Grove community. His truck was packed so tight he almost didn't have room for a change of clothes. The Connie Sizer Foundation, Critter Stuffed Pet Supplies, Brownie Troop 41170, associated with Pritchett School, Brownie Troop 963, which is hosted by Stacy Kupsek, and Village of Buffalo Grove employees provided donations. Jim told us it made him proud to work in such a fine village. Upon arriving in West Liberty, Kentucky, he wasn't sure what to expect, as he had never seen the destruction of a tornado firsthand. He said it was overwhelming, adding that he hopes nothing like what he saw ever comes close to our community of Buffalo Grove. The people in this community were outstanding, and the amount of volunteers from around the country was amazing. As one man said, quote, "This is a testament to the goodness of the American spirit." So I would like to present you, Officer Harris, with the first quarter 2012 Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award on behalf of the Village of Buffalo Grove.
I would also like to thank Debbie Harris, who's with us today, because I think without her, Jim probably wouldn't have been here. So thank you, Debbie. Could you stand up real quick?
Okay, moving on to less exciting things. The monthly management report is for August was included in your board packet, so that's available for review, and we can answer any questions you may have on that item. And then in addition to that, this evening Bob Andrews is here with Civil Tech Engineering, and he will provide a report on the Wyland Road, Lake Cook Road Phase 1 project status. Bob?
Not sure. How's that? Okay.
Much better.
Good evening, President Bremen and members of the board. I'd like to just give a brief presentation of what's been transpiring on the Phase 1 study for the Wyland Road, Lake Cook Road project. Outwardly, it doesn't look like much has been happening, but there's been a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of preparing reports, environmental and design reports, and getting agency reviews with the goal of getting approvals from all of the agencies that would have something to say about this project should it move forward. We've also been working on the construction cost estimate for the project, and that's a kind of a work in progress. We think we're pretty close to coming up with a pretty good estimate of what both of these projects, the Wyland Road project and Lake Cook Road project, might cost. What we still need to accomplish is to finish the environmental studies, in particular the environmental assessment. We can't have the public hearing until we get approval from the Federal Highway Administration of the environmental assessment. We've completed the draft of that document that's gone into IDOT and the FHWA for their reviews. We've gotten comments back. The last things we have to do is coordinate with the Buffalo Grove Park District and School District 102 regarding effects of this project on their recreational properties. Once that's completed, we can submit a signature-ready environmental assessment to the FHWA, and we would hope to get approval to release that document by the end of this year. In terms of the public hearing, right now we have tentatively scheduled a public hearing for January 17th. We think that we'll have all of the agency reviews in hand by that date and would be able to present the proposed improvement plan to the public at that time. Contrary to what was in the status report that I provided the village, I think we said the village board would consider this project in December. I think that would most likely occur after the public hearing, so I think it would be in January, should you schedule it that way. The kind of the finish line for Phase 1 is what we call design approval. We have to get environmental approvals, and then after the environmental approvals, get approval of the design of the project. If we have a public hearing in January, the earliest we would get design approval would probably be in May of 2013. If the village board decides to continue with this project, there's a significant amount of funding that has been secured to build this, both on the federal level and the county level. Right now, the estimated cost for the Wyland Road portion of this project is approximately $40 million. We have inflated that from what some earlier numbers we gave you based on building it in stages over a number of years, that we've included a inflation rate per year over what the period that this possibly would be built. The village has an agreement in place with Lake County to cover how the jurisdiction of this roadway would transfer to the county and how costs would be shared. The county has indicated that they intend on creating new agreements stage by stage as portions of Wyland Road would go forward. They would negotiate an agreement with the village to cover their actual participation. They have provided a cost-sharing table to us that would serve as the basis of these agreements, and we've estimated what the village share of that would be. And right now we have it pegged at about $1.5 million. That's slightly higher than the number we gave you in June. That's a result of a change in our assumptions on some of the lighting design for this project. In terms of federal money, the Lake County Council of Mayors has allocated about $12 million of surface transportation monies in the fiscal years 2014 and 2015. They've also have about almost a $14 million placeholder in their multi-year B list for their projects. As far as the Lake Cook Road portion of the project, that's a kind of a separate project that would be led by the Cook County Highway Department as opposed to the Lake County Division of Transportation. We've estimated that cost right now at about $54 million. Cook County has secured, with the help of the village, some CMAQ monies, about $12 million in CMAQ monies and about $8 million in STP dollars towards that project. They continue to place a high priority on the Lake Cook Road improvements and desire to move forward with building that. It would likely occur in stages just as Wyland Road might occur. So that's a very brief status report for the project. Would entertain any questions you might have.
Well, the first question I would have, the figure you gave as far as our portion of the Wyland Road is about 1.5 million. That's not, I'll also call it new money. We've already spent, the village, approximately that amount. Is that correct?
You spent about $1.2 million on the Phase 1 study. So
And that is applied towards that.
that would be
1.5.
applied towards this total cost.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be a huge outlay of village funds to move forward with the project.
And the rest of those funds are coming from the federal government and the county.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Bragg, you have any other questions?
No, I do not. I think there may be someone who wants to address the board.
Please.
Mr. President. Thank you, Bob.
And as always, please state your name and your address.
Jeff Lieberman, 2250 Avalon Drive, Buffalo Grove, Illinois. I appreciate the update, board and Mr. Andres. Just to make sure I got everything here. You mentioned the Wyland Road portion of the project you currently have, and again, it's an estimate, you're still working through everything, at 43 million, was it? 40 million?
Approximately 40 million.
Approximately 40 million. And I believe that's up, again, I have all my notes from the last time you were here in June, but I believe that was 30 million in June, is that correct?
I think it was close to 32 million.
Okay.
Was the number. What we've done is, as I said, we've inflated the cost. For cost inflation, we've also included. We've done some of the drainage studies. We'll be able to hone in some of the costs that we had previously. I mentioned the lighting. We've previously we assumed that the lighting system would be. That we would reuse some of the poles, and we've assumed that it would be a complete new lighting system. We've also put in monies for a temporary lighting system during construction. Whether the village or county want to do that, that would be decided during the design of the project. Okay.
So give or take approximately a 25% increase given what you just mentioned. And the Lake Cook portion, I believe you were in the $40 million range last time you spoke to the board and to the town. And now you're saying it's in the, I apologize, $54 million range?
Correct.
Okay, so whatever the math is on that, 14 on 40 million. And again, similar concepts, I think, for the reasons for the increase?
The biggest reasons for the increase are, looking at how costs may increase in the future. Right now, it's a very competitive environment. If this could go to construction, it would probably be 15 to 20% less than those numbers I gave you. But assuming they may be built within the next 6 to 8 years, we've inflated the cost to, cover any contingencies. But that's basically the reason for those cost increases.
Okay, thank you. And so you mentioned that it's also now kind of, spread over the cost of however many years, 3, 4, 5 years, and you are taking inflation into account on that as well, as opposed to, I would imagine in June, it was strictly kind of a do it one time. It's going to take time to do, obviously. It doesn't happen in 1 year, but that's where those costs came from as well. Okay. You also mentioned discussing with the Buffalo Grove Park District and discussing with District 102. I know I've talked to, obviously, the board previously, to yourself, and there's many people involved in the board at District 102 who have, personal opinions and opinions from, the standpoint of safety of children and so forth. So I just want to clarify, when you mention the effects on the recreational property of, the park district and the schools, are you talking, there's a school up on Aptekissick Junior High up on Wyland there, and then there's Meridian up on Prairie. You're talking about those play areas there. Nothing from an environmental standpoint, I would imagine, but just from a safety standpoint. Can you clarify on that, please?
Any recreational land, when you spend federal dollars, we have to play by the federal rules. And the federal rules that pertain to recreational land is that you shall not use any recreational or park property unless there's no prudent or feasible alternative. The impacts on the park district and the school are limited to grading easements at driveway locations. That as we widen the road, we would reconstruct the driveway apron. It would go partially onto their property. So it's a very minimal impact on the school property. And we've part of our documentation for these environmental approvals is to get a letter from these agencies saying that they understand what the impact is and they agree that it is a minimal impact, and that would allow us to get our environmental approval. But it's really not an impact on a safety impact in play areas. It's really for driveway grading along the project.
Okay, thank you. Just two more questions. I don't want to take up the entire meeting, obviously, but just traffic lights. I believe there were no new traffic lights that were planned or required based on the studies. One new one. Okay, I'm sorry. Where was that one again? Is that Newtown?
No, it's at, what's the intersection north of Deerfield Parkway? And
Thompson?
Okay. So right now, it's Thompson, north of Deerfield, just north of the junior high there. And then in terms of timing, last time we met and we talked separately, you had kind of a game plan as far as phasing in and the different pieces of this project. There's obviously Lake Cook, the east-west approach, and there's north-south with Wyland and Prairie and the connector. So last time we spoke, you said that the connector would be the first to go, which obviously concerns me living there, but also just as a resident, I'm concerned as far as the east-west traffic flow versus the north-south traffic flow, and exactly where those improvements would come in from Lake Cook, compared to the other, plans that you have. Are you still thinking along those same terms as far as timing, or you just mentioned the priority of Lake Cook earlier? Can you clarify on that, please?
Wyland and Lake Cook are kind of two separate projects that were married by this environmental study, and so they would happen separately. They'd be implemented by separate lead agencies. In terms of Wyland Road, which was under the jurisdiction of the Lake County Division of Transportation, what the county has told us is they don't see they would have the money to do the whole improvement at once, but they anticipate potentially 4 stages to the improvement. What they've indicated to us is the first stage would be what is called the Prairie Road relocation. That would be the improvement of the Aptekissick Wyland Road intersection and the connector road between Wyland Road and Prairie Road north of Aptekissick Road. That would be what they think is their greatest priority, followed by the segment of Wyland Road between Lake Cook and Deerfield Parkway, then the segment between Deerfield Parkway and Aptekissick Road, and last would be Prairie Road north between the connector and Route 22. So that's the staging that the county has indicated to us that they would like to pursue based on that priority. In terms of Lake Cook Road, Cook County has their own staging. They have kind of changed the staging from what we had earlier this year. They would like to do what's called the Wyland Road extension, or the connection of Wyland Road between Lake Cook Road and Buffalo Grove Road, and build that intersection of Wyland and Lake Cook, and then extend 6 lanes from that intersection to the east, where the 6-lane section currently ends. Then the second segment would be the Route 83 and Buffalo Grove Road intersections with Lake Cook Road. So that's the staging that the agencies have indicated to us, that, how they would like to break this up into fundable stages.
So that they could kind of go concurrently, just depending on the different stages and different
It depends
requirements.
on money. It depends on.
Yeah.
I mean, the money is the big question mark as to how quickly they can get money.
Okay.
Federal dollars are, this project has gone on for a number of years. It's hard to get through the process and be able to build things. And if you're at the finish line and are ready to move forward, a lot of times the money does accelerate. But, they try to spend the money they have available.
Okay. Again, I appreciate your time, appreciate the board's time. The board knows this. I'll go on record again, just for those or anyone, for the record, I'm against the project as it currently stands. I think there are better ways to do this. This is, gone from 30 million on the Wyland piece now to 40-something million. While there's a small portion that's the villages, we're still taxpayers, whether it's for the village, for the county, for the federal government. And so there are better ways, in my mind, from what I can see, to do this. And this doesn't have to do with me living against where the connector goes or not. This has to do with basic common sense approach to doing intersection improvements, doing road improvements, and there's been some improvements over time, but we've talked about that separately when I've met with several others in the board. So I'll hold any other comments for a later point in time, but just wanted to go on the record to wrap up, to voice my displeasure with it, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Bragg, anything else?
No, nothing further, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is special business, and although it's not on the agenda, we do have some special business. That is Trustee Stein's birthday today. I want to wish him, on behalf of the board, a happy birthday, and note to anybody who's sitting in the room, there is a cake in the back for to celebrate his birthday. So happy birthday. Next is a report from trustees. Trustee Sussman.
I have two reports. The first one is the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County, which is also known as SWANC, SWANCC, along with the Village of Buffalo Grove and the Buffalo Grove Park District's Environmental Action Team, present 2012 Document Destruction and Electronics Recycling event in Buffalo Grove this Saturday, September 15th, 9:00 a.m. to 12 noon at 151 Hastings Drive, Buffalo Grove, just north of Banner Plumbing at Lake Cook and Hastings Drive. The document destruction. Workers will be present to take paper out of the car. Documents will be placed into a truck and cross-shredded on site and baled and recycled. Limit of 6 boxes or grocery bags per vehicle, and please remember to remove all binders. There is no need to remove paper clips or staples. And now the electronics recycling. All materials collected will be dismantled domestically and recycled by a certified contractor. Due to these recycling efforts, natural resources and energy are conserved, and the materials are recovered or disposed of in a very safe manner. There is a listing of items that will be accepted for recycling on the village's website. This event is open to residents of all SWANC member communities. If you have any questions, please call the Health Department at 847-459-2530. And my next report, the Chicago Wheelchair Bulls basketball team will host an exhibition game against the firefighters of Buffalo Grove and the firefighters of Arlington Heights on November 10th. The Chicago Wheelchair Bulls' mission is to provide and assist in the development of sports and social programs to improve the health, education, and welfare of the people they serve. The game will be held on Saturday, November 10th, 2012 at 7:00 p.m. Minor Middle School, 1101 East Minor School, Arlington Heights, Illinois. Tickets will be sold at the door on the day of the event. All proceeds will go to support the Chicago Wheelchair Bulls. For more information, please email Seth Goldberg at seth1982@aol.com. The cost for tickets, adults $5, students and seniors $4, children $3. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports from trustees? Seeing none, we'll go to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda, which are available in the room this evening, are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other items of business on the regular agenda under new business. Before we get to that, Jan, I'd like to call on you. I know you had something to say under, actually under village trustee report.
Just want to remind everybody that the last day to register to vote for the November 6th presidential election is Tuesday, October 9th. You may register here at Village Hall. There's more information in the Village newsletter. If you have questions, please give us a call at Village Hall. But last day to register is Tuesday, October 9th. Moving on to the consent agenda. Ordinance 2012-39, amending Title 10 of the Village of Buffalo Grove Municipal Code, designation of no parking on Thompson Boulevard east of Arlington Heights Road. The proposed ordinance revises language for an existing parking restriction on the north and south sides of Thompson Boulevard east of Arlington Heights Road. Ordinance 2012-40, granting a variation to the Buffalo Grove Municipal Code pertaining to signs for Knockout Buffalo Grove, 190 McHenry Road. The Zoning Board of Appeals, by a vote of 4-0, recommends to the Village Board to grant the request made by Knockout Buffalo Grove LLC, 190 McHenry Road, for variation to the zoning ordinance, Section 17.44.060.E.6, pertaining to signs. Ordinance 2012-41, amending Chapter 5.20 Liquor Controls, Class H, Connoisseurs Encounters, Inc. The Wine Cellar, 1341 Barclay Boulevard, requests a Class H license which allows the sale of liquor with a part of a delivery gift service. Ordinance 2012-42, amending Chapter 5.20 Liquor Controls, Class E, Michael's of Buffalo Grove, Inc. Michael's Buffalo Grove, Inc., 340 West Halfpenny Road, requests a Class E license which allows retail sale of beer and wine by means of a service area for consumption on the premises only. Ordinance 2012-43, amending Title 10 of the Village of Buffalo Grove Municipal Code, designation of no parking on the south side of Fabius Drive west of Highland Grove Drive. A recommended parking restriction has been developed by the Police Department Traffic Unit in coordination with Trip School officials in order to more safely accommodate parents and buses loading and unloading students in the area of the school. Resolution 2012-31, sorry. A resolution to amend the Village of Buffalo Grove Section 457 Deferred Compensation Plan, ICMA-RC, number 300521, to permit loans. A resolution implementing the loan provision within the village-sponsored but employee-funded ICMA/RC 457 Deferred Compensation Plan is recommended for approval. Resolution 2012-32, retirement, Sergeant Deb Trobeck. The Village Board commends Sergeant Deb Trobeck for her years of service as police officer in the Village of Buffalo Grove from 1990 to 2012. Under new business, award of contract security camera enhancements, the village sought proposals to perform security camera enhancements at several village-owned facilities. Staff recommends an award of contract to ESCO for a budgeted amount of $59,730. Authorization to reject all bids, waive bids, and award contract 2012 sewer televising. Due to an error in the bid, staff recommends that the Village Board reject all bids, waive bids, and award a contract to National Power Rotting Corporation at the revised unit prices in an amount not to exceed $100,000. All other bid conditions and specifications remain intact. Authorization to waive bids and to request proposals, mosquito abatement contract. Staff requests an authorization of a waiver of bids to allow staff to seek out proposals for mosquito abatement services for the 2013 mosquito control season, with possible options to extend a service contract beyond 1 year. General merit wage pool for 2012. It is recommended that a 0.5% general wage increase be awarded to all non-represented village employees effective on August 27, 2012, and consistent with the wage pool established for the represented employees in May 2012. And finally, authorization to bid 2012 to 2015 tree removal services. Staff requests authorization to bid a tree removal contract associated with Emerald Ash Borer Response pending final review by the village attorney. Staff recommends approval of all items on the consent, and that finally ends the consent agenda.
Thank you. Anybody from the board who wishes to take anything off the consent agenda?
I do.
Ask for the board, please.
I'm sorry.
Anybody from the board? Anybody? No? Any citizen would like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Thank you, President Bremen. I would like to remove item I, authorization to reject all bids, waive bids, and award contract 2012 sewer televising, with Trustee Stein as the liaison. I'd also like to remove item J under the consent agenda, authorization to waive bids and to request proposals, mosquito abatement contract. That would be also Trustee Stein as the liaison. And I'd also like to remove item L, authorization to bid 2012 through 2015 tree removal services, again by Trustee Stein. And I ask that they be removed for a little more exploration and discussion on why they're being removed, and I'd like to discuss them just a bit.
Well, we'll discuss them at the end of the agenda, as we always do. Thank
That's
you.
fine.
If you
Thank you.
If you have a seat, we'll get to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next is ordinance resolutions. I'm sorry. Okay. Is there a motion to approve for those items that have not been removed?
So made.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman.
Aye.
Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Oppenheimer. Motion carried.
Thank you. Now we can go to ordinance and resolutions. Item A, ordinance number 2012-44, an ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance, Title 17 of the Municipal Code concerning automobile laundry as a special use in the B2 and B3 districts. Trustee Sussman.
For the purpose of discussion, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2012-44, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance, Title 17 of the Municipal Code concerning automobile laundry as a special use in the B2 and B3 districts. And I defer to staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Bragg?
Thank you, Mr. President. Staff recommends approval of this amendment to Section 17.44.030 of the zoning code, which would allow automobile laundry only as a special use in the B2 and B3 districts, consistent with the recommendation of the Plan Commission. Staff can answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions of staff? Can you give a little background on what the modification is, a little bit more explicit?
Mr. File, would you like to describe the difference between automobile laundry and a car wash?
The car washes that we typically see historically next to gas stations serve one vehicle at a time. The proposal by Buchanan Energy for the Buc-ee's Express would actually have more than one vehicle at a time in the structure that will be washing the automobiles. So that technically is an automobile laundry under our zoning ordinance definitions. And so a request is made to amend the ordinance to allow the auto laundry rather than a car wash as part of the Buc-ee's Express development.
Very good. Any questions based upon those comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. There being no other questions or comments, please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman.
Aye.
Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Oppenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item B, ordinance number 2012-45, amendment of the PUD for the rebuild of a gas station and convenience store and approval of a special use for an automobile laundry in the B3 district for Buc-ee's Express, 1251 McHenry Road. Trustee Turson.
I move to approve ordinance number 2012-45, an amendment of the plan unit development for the rebuild of the gas station and convenience store and approval of a special use for an automobile laundry in the B3 district, Buc-ee's Express, 1251 McHenry Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is the developer here? Would you like to make a presentation, please? Mrs. Stone, if you would please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just let me know when I can come up.
Bob, can we get the computer? Because I do have
You want to look at the exhibits to the ordinance, Mr. Haynes, further? Is that?
Well, I have the same presentation we gave to the Plan Commission, which I'm prepared to go through if the trustees so wish. I could do it in a very quick and efficient manner, I
That would
believe.
probably be effective.
Yeah.
If you could give your name and...
My name is Walter Hainsfurther. I'm architect with Kurtz Associates Architects. We're the architects for this project. I'm joined today by Richard McMahon, who is the Real Estate Development Director for Buchanan Energy, and Tom Thunder of Acoustic Associates, who is our noise consultant on the project, in case you have any questions regarding that.
And if we can get your business card.
And my firm is Kurtz Associates Architects. We're located in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Very good. If you can give a short presentation, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be probably best if you can probably focus on the noise impacts, because
Sure.
I think that's probably the one.
Well, then,
question I
rather than, if it's going to be a trouble and delay the meeting, Mr. File, I'll just kind of wing it. In your packets is a number of, you have received, I believe, all the exhibits that were presented as part of it. And one of them is the noise study that was done on the site, and comparing it to a similar project that was done in Bartlett, Illinois. As Mr. Thunder testified at the Plan Commission, this project with the restrictions on hours of use and the other abatement features such as the fence and increased landscaping along the north property line of the project will cause no additional sound to leave the site as what is existing today or evident on the street surrounding the property. Mr. Thunder did do a 24 hours noise study that he presented at the Plan Commission, and the results of that study are listed on a chart that shows you how it compares to the ambient noise and other decibel readings for common things such as conversation, doors slamming, and those sorts of things. And his position, and he can answer questions better than I can about this, is that the design as offered will cause no additional undue burden on the surrounding property owners. As mentioned, we will be removing all the improvements there. Will be an all brand new station with some exciting architecture. We think it's not what we showed you when we were here the first time for the concept meeting, and we've worked very hard with both the Plan Commission and the staff to bring this back to you in a form that we think merits your approval. And Mr. Thunder, as I said, is here today, and perhaps, I don't know whether he wants to add something to what I've said, or you have questions about the noise in particular that he can answer for you.
Why don't you give a little overview of the project?
Sure. We're removing all the existing improvements. The site is currently a mobile station. It will remain a mobile station. Part of the site, of course, is an office building that is going to be removed as part of this as well. We will be consolidating entries off of McHenry Road from, I think there are 2 entries now, to one single entry point. Along Arlington Heights Road with the office building, I believe there are several entries off of the office building property to Arlington Heights Road. Again, we'll be consolidating that to one. We will be retaining the access onto Cortland, which is the street directly north of us, that will provide some additional access to Sporland Commons Shopping Center behind us, but we don't anticipate that. Again, we did do a traffic study that is part of your information, and it showed, again, no additional really significant traffic onto Cortland Road at this time for this development. We will be erecting a 4,200 square foot state-of-the-art convenience store with an attached tunnel-type car wash, similar to what Shell has across the street. The difference is that in our case, all of the workings for the car wash will be inside the building. If you recall on Shell, the conveyor actually sticks out about 25 feet from the entrance of the building. So in our case, we will be enclosing all of that, and that will, we believe, also assist with the noise situation. The cars will enter from the side closest to Sporland Commons and exit closest to Arlington Heights Road. On that Arlington Heights Road is where the blowers would be. They're facing commercial property in this case. That's the noisiest part of our operation. Again, noise does not bend back around. It only goes pretty much straight and conical. So again, once again, the area will not impact, the noise will not impact the neighbors. I would say that the closest residential property is approximately 90 feet from our property line, or from our building. So there's a significant difference, and there's a distance, and there's some additional buffering in areas that we don't control and obviously won't touch along our north property line as well. It will be a 24-hour operation on the convenience store and the gas. I believe we agreed to restricted hours. I know we agreed to restricted hours on the car wash so that during nighttime hours after, I think, 11 o'clock, the car wash would be closed until the next morning. So again, we're very conscious of trying to be a good corporate citizen.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Anyone? Trustee Stein?
Yes, I do have some questions about the sign package.
Sure.
Just as a matter of history, this is the first time that the sign package under the new sign code has been reviewed by the Plan Commission. And in all due respect to the Plan Commission, I mean, they did take a good look at the sign package that was delivered. Under the discussions that we had back when the sign code was amended, we discussed that all sign code packages that were going to be decided by the Plan Commission would first be presented to the zoning board for comment. And in this case, that was not done, whether in oversight. I do know that after the Plan Commission was through hearing it, it was presented to the zoning board. They had a few concerns, as do I. There were concerns about the number of signs at this location. My concern that I'm particularly concerned about is the 15-foot high sign that's 2 feet from the property line. I feel it's way too close to the street, and wanted to get a little bit further input from the rest of the board on that.
Any other input from the rest of the board? Any comments, questions, concerns? There being none. I take it this gentleman...
This is Mr. McMahon, the representative of the owner. So
would you like to add anything more?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Richard McMahon. I represent Buchanan Energy. I was made aware of your concerns earlier today, and I went out to the site and looked at it, and I reviewed our plans, and I visited with staff. And reviewing that in the interest of accommodating the village and continuing on the movement that we have so far, I've agreed to remove the, and after reading your things, I've agreed to remove the, what is it? The rapid wash sign from the pylon and reduce the base as much as needs to be to get it down to 13 feet or so. On the building, I've agreed to remove the Be Fresh lunch sign off of the side. And I'm told that that now brings our wall signage down to a little bit below what's permitted by code, so we don't need a variation in that issue on that. I would like to keep the sign in position where it is. To put it someplace else on the site would impact the internal circulation of the site for cars moving around inside the property. We tried really hard to work with that. On the sizes of the numbers, we currently have 12-inch numbers on the one pylon sign that exists there, and there are 3 prices for gasoline and 1 for diesel. On our request, we've been asked for one 18-inch LED sign and one 12-inch LED sign. Would like to keep those for the purposes of allowing people to be able to see the one sign and be able to react in anticipation in a general way rather than erratic drives when they see a price that they like and to move onto the site. And the second one, while we currently use it for pricing with or without a car wash, I can see at some point where we want to change the lower one to diesel. I drive a diesel vehicle, and I hope that they become more popular and get 45 miles per gallon on it. And so I think that's a good thing to be able to do and adjust to that. We will sell diesel at this place. There were some comments about the signage and comparing it to the one on Lake Cook Road in Wheeland. That building was built by ExxonMobil. And their sign is completely different from what we had. And we don't think it's appropriate. It's way higher. It's different on a lot of different purposes. But if we're saying why it's not consistent with that one, that was done by ExxonMobil. And ExxonMobil is also the group of people who came here twice before to ask to do a raise and rebuild and didn't get it done. We bought all 81 of these in December of 2010. And we definitely want to be the people to get this over the goal line and get that thing knocked down and rebuilt.
Do you have anything more?
Yeah, thank you. I actually have no issue with the 18-inch letters. I think the Shell station has 18-inch letters across the street, and it's only fair that you should be allowed to have your prices the same size as what they do. I do have a question for Mr. Sheehan, if I might. If the sign is now reduced to 13 feet, how are we doing in terms of distance from the street? And do we have any village engineers' recommendations in terms of sight lines?
There were no village engineers' comments that I'm aware of as far as the sight lines. I believe. Okay, the comments that were forwarded to the Plan Commission were that the site location was acceptable. There was no problems with anything as far as sight lines or underground, and the variation would still stay the same. 2 feet from the property line being either 13 feet or 15 feet, it's still a variance.
Thank you.
Trustee Trilling?
Thank you. My question relates to the hours of operation for the car wash. It's stated in the Plan Commission minutes, I believe, that the car wash will be operated from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Is that correct?
I was doing it off of memory, Trustee Trilling, whatever we agreed to at the Plan Commission, I believe it is consistent with our competition across the street, and we're accepting of that.
Okay. Does staff have any information relative to the hours of the car wash across the street?
Yes, those are also 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay. And the difference between the two of them is that there's really only one car enclosed in the one across the street and one car that gets, I'm going to call it prepped, if you will, outside?
Not completely, sir. I mean, I think there are two cars. One car could be being washed and one car could be being dried in the Shell station. That's about a 60-foot tunnel car wash because we also did that car wash as well. How it was approved, I think the staff has researched that, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't have an answer as to whether it was, there was a difference in those days.
I don't know the volume of traffic that you would generate at 6 in the morning for car washes, but I would surmise that it would be minimal at best. I would think 7 o'clock would be, you'd start to increase volume 7 o'clock on, it would be my impression, but I'll defer to you to explain that.
Also, don't we have an ordinance regarding construction vehicles, and construction can't begin until, I believe, 7 o'clock. So that would be consistent, your thought, it would be consistent with that as well.
Where I'm going with this is if maybe get to the end first and then work way backwards. I personally believe that 7 a.m. would be sufficient for starting, a car wash facility, and I believe 10 p.m. is probably a little too late, especially during the winter hours where people tend to go to sleep earlier and it's darker earlier, and children, etc. So I'm personally advocating, if you're so receptive, to a 7 a.m. start and a 9 p.m. Cutoff.
With all due respect, it puts us at a competitive disadvantage to across the street where the conditions are very similar. And at this point, we're happy to match what Shell is doing. We think that to ask us to do more than that at this point is a bit of a hindrance to our development. If Shell was to open and close, then we'd be happy to consider it. But as long as they're allowed to be open, we think we should be allowed to as well.
I can appreciate your position, but I'll offer to you that you're asking for a considerable number of variances on this project, so I believe it's a little bit of a give and take. I believe that now is the time to address some of these issues if we can, and I believe that your overall impact as far as your competition, I don't believe it's between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. there are going to be that many car washes occurring, and that would be a negative impact.
I think, quite honestly, people are going to work earlier than perhaps they have in the past. I know I'm out on the road sometimes at 6 in the morning, and it's quite busy. I don't believe that the noise from the car wash will have, and Mr. Thunder, I think, maybe up to talk specifically about that, will have any impact, particularly, as you said, in the winter when windows are generally closed. And so, again, we're a long way, the noisier side, as Dr. Thunder can testify to, is a long way away from the residences and shouldn't have an impact, won't have an impact on those areas. So, Mr. Thunder, if you want to perhaps.
Yes, Dr. Tom Thunder. I live in Pingree Grove, 867 Scottsdale Drive. On the noise study that you have, the noise study wouldn't support those more restricted hours. That's one of the reasons why we do ambient noise testing over a good deal of time, is to establish what the ambient noise is in that area with all the traffic and so forth. And the study, I'm not sure if you have it in front of you, you see that the ambient noise starts to drop at 11 p.m., not 10 p.m. And during the weekday when it comes back up, it starts to come back up at 5 a.m., not 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. So that ambient noise is there and masks any noise from the car wash.
I believe there's somewhat of a start and stop on the car wash versus just a consistent ambient noise. So I understand what you're saying, and I understand also that you can double the sound, but obviously the perceived sound is not doubled. I understand that principle.
Right.
But it's just a common sense thing to me. If 7 a.m. was a start time, especially in light of that, if the argument's made that at 6 a.m. That's when people are starting to go to work, it's going to be the heaviest or one of the heavier times for travel. I'm going to say that the majority of people who are traveling Route 83 are going southbound, and most cases are not going to make a left-hand turn to go into your facility. They're going to take advantage of just merely making a right-hand turn into someone else's facility. So I will leave it to the rest of the trustees and you, but I believe that a 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. time frame, I think, is sufficient for your needs.
Mr. Trilling, Trustee Trilling, that we're not prepared to offer that at this point or support that.
Well, obviously, another alternative would be to...
And I would say, as Richard just pointed out, this board approved a similar operation, in fact, with the car wash doors facing the residential for ExxonMobil with the same hours that we're proposing.
Another board did, but not this.
I'm sorry, okay. The Village of Buffalo Grove approved it.
Maybe an alternative also possible is to pass it with your suggestion and see what happens in a few months once it's built, see if there's an impact. The reports are the reports. It's nice to see on paper, but the actuality is what we really are concerned with. So maybe we can always expand it later on. It's always easier to expand it than cut it down.
President Bremen, I'm not sure that this user will invest $2 to $3 million in a location on the hopes that he gets to match what his competition is doing.
That's a choice he can make, and I don't. Trustee Berman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to echo what Trustee Stein had said earlier in terms of concerns about the sign package. I'm glad to hear that you've made an attempt to constructively address at least some of the concerns raised by the ZBA that were echoed by Trustee Stein. The one I didn't hear was the location of the pylon sign.
Unfortunately, the pylon sign, we believe it's in a safe location, and it needs to be close to the street. As I think Mr. McMahon said, that unfortunately that's not, pushing it back would create more problems, we think, than it would solve. So in terms of restricting access around the site and fostering knowledge of people driving by, that we think that it would cause more problems that way. So we're still going to be asking for it located where it is. It's out of the site vision triangle for the driveways, and as engineering has said, they have no objection to where we're putting the sign.
The other concern is something that was echoed by a number of people at the Plan Commission, some of whom ended up voting yes, some of whom ended up voting no, and that is the large number of variances that are being requested for this project. And Trustee Trilling touched on that a little bit. You come here and you say, let us be competitively equal with the shell, but this isn't a question of competitive equity, it's a question of zoning. And to the extent that you are attempting to put facilities on a lot that require extensive variations, it suggests that it requires special scrutiny. And to the extent that you are impacting the neighborhood in ways that haven't been impacted previously, or it is qualitatively different than has been impacted previously, and certainly you're changing the buildings, you're making a larger facility, and you're adding components to the facility that don't exist currently on the site. And so it is, the suggestion that, well, I'm just going to stand up here and say no to what are fairly simple and legitimate questions, I find very troubling and concerning. I understand your desire for time period equity, but you are essentially asking, and have received, a zoning change to give you a competitive advantage by putting in a facility that you will argue is a better facility for car washing than exists across the street. I would presume you're going to make that argument, or you wouldn't be asking for it, and you wouldn't be proposing.
I would say it's similar to what's being done across the street. And with all due respect, Trustee Berman, we have, as shown by even tonight talking about the signs, we have been always willing to work with the village, and both from the Plan Commission standpoint, from the staff standpoint, from the Board of Trustees standpoint, and we stand ready to work with the village. There are just certain things that our hands are tied on.
And they may be tied. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Ottenheimer?
Thank you. I was not on the board when the Shell McDonald's was approved with the auto laundry. Could someone enlighten me as to the difference in zoning between the Shell station and where this proposal is? Is there any significant difference in the zoning?
Bob, if you
both properties are zoned B3. The Shell McDonald's had some history relative to annexation issues. The development was actually approved by Lake County before the property was annexed to the village, so there were certain things about the site planning that the village basically agreed to that perhaps would not have been, if it was just a village project without the county approval as part of the process.
Were the hours of operation one of those elements or not?
There was a lot of concern by proximate residents about the whole development, but the car wash was one of the things, and the hours of operation was a response to that. And for whatever reason, the 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. was thought to be a reasonable.
That was acceptable at that time.
At that location.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is this: Trustee Trilling, I understand your concerns. Trustee Berman, I understand your concerns, but I think we have an obligation as a board to be fair. And unless we can establish that there's something different about this location than the other one in terms of hours, I have a problem restricting these hours versus what's across the street that you can say is really the same. I'm not saying that, look, if it can be proved to me that those hours are detrimental to these residents, then I've got something to go on. but I haven't heard that yet, so I'm respectfully disagreeing with that end. Thank you.
Bob, can you tell us, if you know, what the distance is between the closest residence by the Shell McDonald and the car wash?
I'm sorry, I don't know the feet.
Okay. Trustee Sussman.
Have there been any complaints from the residents by the Shell station as to the hours from 6 to 10 in the past number of years? I know lots of people did not want that gas station, let alone the car wash opening. I was not on the board when it was approved at the time, but I'm just wondering what the complaint situation is.
There were a lot of concerns when it went in, but from the time it opened to today, I have not received any complaints, and they would have come through my office.
Trustee Thurson.
Before I echo Trustee Ottenheimer's sentiments, I was going to ask staff, and I think you kind of already did, in relation to the Shell station. I heard Mr. File say we don't have an exact measurement. I've been to both of those facilities, and if someone disagrees with what I'm about to say, I would love to hear it. But I get the impression, just by eyeballing it, that the auto washing facility at the Shell station is in closer proximity to residences than this proposed auto laundry. Does anybody agree or disagree with that? You thought it was the opposite. Anybody else?
My impression too, but I'm not quite sure.
Your impression is
that
it is?
This is closer to the residents than the Shell McDonald's.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
Do we have any noise measurements for the Shell station at all to compare? Does that exist either now or once upon a time, or?
Bob, was that in the package when it was approved originally? Do you know?
Probably there was some testimony about noise impact for the Shell McDonald's. I do not recall the exact level of the study or the evidence that was presented, but clearly residents in the area were concerned about the Shell McDonald's potential impacts on their property. So I know that noise was certainly discussed. I don't recall how closely it was documented.
It was discussed before the car washing facility opened, but you said there haven't been complaints since it opened.
Mr. Sheehan has indicated he has not received any complaints about the Shell McDonald's car wash.
To the petitioners, you're doing obviously some due diligence here. Have you checked your competition's standards at all? Do you have any, could you tell me your car laundry is quieter or louder than your competition's kitty corner?
Perhaps Tom can. He's done a number of studies, so.
Well, I've done a number of studies. I don't know what that particular one is, but there is a difference between car wash equipment that I've found. This car wash that we have here is relatively quiet. If you want to hear a noisy one, I would encourage you to visit one in Palatine on Route 14 Northwest Highway and Palatine Road. It's about 15 dB higher than this one here. 15 dB means it's 3 times as loud. So equipment is an issue, and orientation of the wash is an issue. As was mentioned earlier, if you had residents that were directly out the entrance or the exit, that sound is at least twice as loud compared to if a resident was off at a 90-degree angle. That's what we call acoustic directivity. So where a resident is located in angles is just as important as distance as well.
Have we received any concerns from residents in the area, emails?
Regarding Shell McDonald's?
No, regarding what's before us tonight.
Oh, yes, I believe we have. In fact, I think the people were at the Plan Commission. I don't know if we have a representative from the Plan Commission here. Would you like to speak to that issue, if you could?
While Mr. Khan is approaching, you can go ahead up there. While you're heading up there, I just wanted to say that at this point in the discussion, I agree with Trustee Ottenheimer. I think that this is newer, modern equipment. I don't know exactly how old the Shell's equipment is, but I think that the petitioner and his team has done their due diligence. They have provided scientific noise studies, and I'm convinced that this will not be a problem at this point.
We just pulled up on Google Earth to see if we can get an idea, and it appears at least that the Shell McDonald is somewhat further away.
Somewhat further away, okay.
We don't have any.
Well, I guess we've proven that my eyeball measurement is not as great as I thought it was. So, Mr. Khan, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board of Trustees. My name is Zil Khan. I'm the Vice Chair of the Plan Commission. I've been on commission for almost 11 years. Thank you for reappointing me a couple of times. I am a little bit disadvantaged speaking on this noise study because I was not present on August 1st when Dr. Thunder's study was presented. I was present in the workshop where some of the residents were present and had some discussion about the noise. But at that point, we were just talking about guessing that how much is going to be and what kind of equipments. And then Dr. Thunder's a report came on the August 1st. So there were some residents that were concerned about that.
Thank you.
And I will refer to Mr. File. He was present on the August 1st when the traffic study and the noise study both were presented.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Stone, if you will, we're not ready for your yet, so if you could have a seat, I appreciate it. Any other concerns? Please, if you have a seat.
Am I next?
No, we'll get to you eventually, but if you have a seat backward. We could, thank you. Anybody else with any comments about it? Trustee Berman?
Thank you. I know that Mr. Khan was not present for the discussion, but so I guess I will direct my question to Mr. File. The Plan Commission decision was not unanimous. It was 5-2. And perhaps Mr. File could share generally with the public and succinctly with us the reasons for the dissenting opinions.
I believe that Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Goldsboro were very clear that they were concerned with the number of variations, and that went more to the zoning variations, was my understanding. They were concerned with the landscape setbacks along McHenry Road and Arlington Heights Road being 10.5 feet rather than 12 feet. And Commissioner Johnson, as I recall, was concerned about the setback variation to the north side of the building, which would have been the one closer to the residential. Now, on that point, in fairness to the developer, we have to acknowledge that it's just a small segment where that variation of the 50-foot requirement is needed. And again, the mitigation of the noise was definitely addressed by the developer. They made an effort to show that the auto laundry would not produce detrimental noise to the residents, and there's a fence element that also provides some screening. But clearly, two plan commissioners were concerned with the zoning variations in particular.
Anything else? Okay, anything else you want to add at this point? I believe there are some neighbors are here if they would like to speak first. Any neighbor who would like to speak? None? Okay, Mrs. Stone?
Thank you, President Freeman. Well, I have some questions. And the first, aside from all of the issues that we're discussing regarding residents and this and that, what I find most curious, I was just showing one of the reporters in the audience, which I've noticed I noticed it in 2010, actually, January 2010. And it was the DLC assignment form for the Buffalo Grove Shell Oil Products, U.S. Ordinance Review, correspondence number R10111202. And in 2007, it says, I, Janet Sarabian, hereby certify that I am the duty elected, qualified, and acting village clerk of the Village of Buffalo Grove, counties of Cook and Lake, Illinois, and the keeper of its seal and records. I hereby further certify that the attached copy is the ordinance number 2007-30, adopted on the 21st day of May 2007 by the Village Board of the of the Village of Buffalo Grove is shown by the records in my custody. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the Village of Buffalo Grove, aforesaid, at the village in the county and state aforesaid, this first day of June 2007. Signed by Jan Sarabian, and Jan Olson, I think, witnessed it. And that ordinance prohibits the use of groundwater as a potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or by any other method.
Mrs. Stone.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point.
Well,
the point is, excuse me, public speaking. The point is that location.
The point is, this is
Okay,
not
I know,
the
you're right.
location.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're right. But where I'm tying it in, Jeff, I'll go to Jeff, is at a 1251 McHenry Road where you have listed on today's agenda. If I can show everyone in the community that comes up south of Lake Cook Road, it's not in the location, I believe, where you're discussing. Are you discussing an area? You have it listed on the agenda at, what, 1250 or 1251 McHenry? Because if you Google that, unless Google's wrong, that area is right across from the prohibition of potable water, the only potable water that is banned in Buffalo Grove.
That's the wrong location.
Okay,
Google's wrong.
Well, then Google's wrong. Okay, then I'm going to contact Google tomorrow. But I just want to ask you this then, because if we're as residents supposed to not trust Google but trust you, which you know I don't, my concern is that across the street at 50, water in the 90s was found at 50
This not the
West.
location,
Excuse me,
Mrs.
okay, well then I imagine you're going to call Google tomorrow. But my question is, a citizen that's paying taxes for clean water, is that the only banned water, the only banned potable water, there is only one site, and that is at 50 West McHenry, or 50 West Lake Cook Road. Now, what's interesting is that when Jan did her seal of approval, she forgot to send it in to Springfield for 3 years. When I brought up the landfill issue in January 2010, that's when she sent it in for the DLC, which is very interesting, the DLC assignment form, which was signed by an attorney then named Stephanie Flowers. I'd like to know why she held it for 3 years, but furthermore, what's most curious is that, excuse me, Jeff, nothing's relevant to you. Let me finish, please.
No, what's
you can
relevant
eject me.
is
Okay, my question is this. She had the wrong address because the actual Shell station, as we know, is on the northwest corner, but she put it on the northeast corner where IHOP is, and IHOP has a McHenry address. So the 500-foot radius that you were not allowed to touch the water actually hits the Buffalo Creek. So when she had the wrong address, did you tell anybody? Because reports were done in Buffalo Grove that were used by the Metropolitan Water Reclamation that were the wrong reports. Now, if I'm wrong, can you correct me, Jan? If I'm wrong, Jeff, I was a legal research consultant. You're an attorney. I taught and sold legal research to people like you. Okay, just tell me, where's the Shell station? Where's the Shell station? 50 East or 50 West? Just tell us that. You've been here for 18 years in government. We have combined 100 years here. Where's the Shell station?
This is regarding this development.
Yes, because here's the question. You're talking.
You're out of order.
Tell me where the location is.
Order has nothing to do.
Except one thing. You've got the wrong location. Then Google's wrong or you're wrong. You're talking.
I just went on Google
Here,
Earth.
1251 McHenry Road.
Okay, you've got
Can
one more minute.
Okay, can I put this on the over to show the 43,000 or 45,000 people spending $63 million by your decisions that I'm questioning right now? For 18 years, you sat on a location that Shell, you know it's not where IHOP is. 50 East and 50 West is different. That water was banned. And you know that I'm talking true. And here it is, the DLC assignment form. And I will post it on YouTube, Trustee Lisa Stone, one word, and I will put it up there for the community to see if Google's right or wrong. I'm simply asking you as the president, you're running for judge. Am I right or wrong? Bev, you're a science teacher. Do you know the difference between East and West?
Mr. President, this is not on
Yes,
topic.
but Bucky's, but look, here, is Bucky's south or north of Lake Cook Road?
You know where it is.
Well, my problem is 1251 McHenry Road comes up south of Lake Cook Road, right behind Malnati's. But this is where the Google comes up.
Moving on. Anybody else who would like to have
Okay, let me show you where Google shows it to me.
Is there anybody else? Okay.
Well, I have it right here.
You're out of order.
Okay, I'll
Please
stop.
Sit down.
Absolutely. But would you look into
have,
Google for
is there
me?
a motion and a second? Please call the roll.
Jeff, thank you for your time.
Before we get to that, I would like to know, I know the developer has made some modifications as far as what they're going to do. Let's make sure we get that on the record. Mr. Raisa, do you have what those modifications are?
Correct, but one of the modifications that I wanted to address, Mr. President, is I believe the individual from Mobile said that if he removes the rapid wash, from the sign, it was diminished by 2 feet. I show 18 inches. on the
What I believe the
exhibit.
testimony was, sir, is that
Approach
we would adjust the base also to make it a 13-foot high sign.
15.
So we will do what we need to do to have a maximum height of 13 feet,
Okay, I
including
missed the base.
including removing the rapid wash sign.
And
from
then the other sign,
The other sign is the Be Fresh
The Be
lunch
Fresh
sign
lunch-
on the
lunch
south facade, and that will be removed.
okay. The only thing I would recommend that it be subject to those two items because the current exhibits would have to be either modified or the ordinance modified to explain those two exceptions, Mr. President.
Wasn't there a third one where you were going to lower the letters and the numbers?
No, that was not the.
No, it was.
Okay, those were the only
18
two?
The only two, those were the only two.
Will you please sit down? Please sit down. You're out of order.
And that was-
We're having a meeting here. Please sit down. Were there any other modifications that you were offering?
No.
None? Is that what you had also?
That's what I had, was those two modifications, Mr. President. And if the board will direct the village staff to so modify the draft ordinance in front of in the package tonight, that would be fine.
Will the move-in accept? Who's the move-in?
Yes.
Okay.
I will.
And will second accept as well? Trustee Ottenheimer? Did you have your light on? No. Okay. So we have the motion as amended.
Can you hold
please
on,
call the
Mr. President?
Okay.
Hold on, give me a second, please.
Sure. Trustee Trilling?
We can have any discussion on the motion?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a modification that's been accepted by the movement and the second. Any discussion by the board? Any further discussion of the board? Trustee Trilling?
It appears that some of my fellow trustees feel that, based upon conversations, at least specifically with Trustee Turson and Trustee Ottenheimer, that they feel the hours of operation should remain the way they are as proposed. I feel differently, and if there isn't a consensus of sorts to modify them, I will not make any proposals to do so, but with the knowledge also that I would probably be voting no myself personally if the hours weren't changed.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion, response to Trustee Trilling? There being none, please call the roll. Pardon? We're voting on the, you had your time, we're voting on the proposal.
Berman?
No.
Trilling?
No.
Sussman?
Yes.
Turson?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Ottenheimer?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion carries. We wish you luck. Thank you. Okay, next item is ordinance number 2012-45, 46, approving a preliminary plan amendment of the plan unit development for retail building in the B3 district, Burdeen's Jewelers at 1151 Lake Cook Road. Trustee Turson.
Thank you. I move to approve ordinance number 2012-46, approving a preliminary plan and amendment of a plan unit development for a retail building in the B3 district, Burdeen's Jewelers, 1151 Lake Cook Road.
Second.
I defer to staff.
Is the developer here? Would you like to make a short presentation?
Hi, I'm Matt Burdeen.
Hi, in the location of your business now?
1148 West Lake Cook Road.
If you just like a quick overview of what you're trying to do in the project, we
Sure.
appreciate it.
We've been a business in Buffalo Grove for almost 30 years, and we've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to expand now. And we're looking to do business here for a long time in the future ahead. We've had fantastic cooperation with the village staff, especially Mr. File. We've had a lot of issues in trying to purchase the property, and when we were finally able to purchase it, we had a time constraint in getting it built quickly, and you guys were fantastic, and we really appreciate that and getting it through the board for us in an efficient manner.
And briefly, it's the same type of business, the jewelry business.
Yeah, we're going to operate a very high-end retail jewelry business, just like we do now. Probably 80% of our business is from the surrounding areas, and 20% we do nationally.
I've got to tell you, I'm a little disappointed when Deerfield Bakery came years ago. They brought samples for all the audience, and I was hoping. I do have an anniversary coming up. Okay, thank you. Any comments? Any questions from the board? Trustee Sussman.
I will say that Matt Burdine is a former student of mine, and I even remember your science fair project. Do you remember what it was? It had to do with jewelry. So even in 6th grade, Matt was very interested in jewelry. I think the building is absolutely beautiful, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Trustee Berman.
Thank you. Unlike the last one, actually, I have positive things to say. I really want to express appreciation for the fact that you're investing in this building, in this community, maintaining a business in the community, and I very much appreciate, I know the residents do, your welcome re-addition to our business community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Ottenheimer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to echo the same things that were said. Welcome and thank you again.
Thank you. There being no other comments, please, there'll be a motion and a second, no amendments. Please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman. Aye. Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Good luck, and we look forward to the opening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There is no unfinished business. Next, we'll move on to new business. Item A, Arns Property Annexation, 23077-89 North Prairie Road and 16471 West Brockman Avenue. Trustee Stein.
For the purpose of discussion, I move approval of the Arns Property Annexation 23077-89 North Prairie Road and 16471 West Brockman Avenue.
Is there a second?
Mr. President,
I'm sorry, there is no second. There is motion.
That's not an appropriate motion
right.
this time.
There is no motion. It's just more a discussion at this point. Okay, so I apologize. Let's go 1 second. If you can introduce yourself and give us your name and your address.
Good evening, I'm Patrick Arns. This is my mother, Colleen Arns. She's the property owner of 23077 North Prairie Road and 16471 West Brockman Avenue. And we thank you for the time to hear the request. Our request is she owns 4 lots in total, 2 on Prairie Road and 2 vacant lots behind. She'd like to annex just the portion on Prairie Road to Buffalo Grove. With the 2 vacant lots, she would not like to annex to Buffalo Grove at this time. She'd like to leave those unincorporated, because if she were ever to sell them separately, they would be more opportune. The opportunity to develop them would be better suited in Lincolnshire than in Buffalo Grove. So
Well,
that's
unfortunately for you, I suppose, we do have an agreement with Lincolnshire in which we've pretty much divided the areas, unincorporated areas, and the entire parcel, all 4 parcels, under that agreement that was negotiated and signed several years ago, is within the purview of the village. So even if you would want to annex to Lincolnshire, they would have no ability to do so.
And that agreement cannot be modified at any point in time?
Well, I suppose any agreement can be modified, but I know we don't have any intention to do so because it just doesn't play into what our long-range plans are. Any comments from the board? Any concerns? Any questions specifically? We would welcome you to annex the entire property. I assume that the reason why you want to annex at this point is for the water. Is that correct?
Correct. We'd like to get the water service, which runs along Prairie Road.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and the reason we don't want to annex the rear lots is the rear lots, if they were ever to be sold separately or developed separately, the utility service and right-of-way would be off of Brockman, where the Lincolnshire utilities run. So there would be no opportunity to develop them without setting aside a portion of her current residence. Right. I don't know. I know this would be difficult to see, but if you were to develop this area of the property here, this is Prairie Road. right here and Brockman Avenue here. Lincolnshire Utilities run along Brockman. Her residence sits here. In order to run utilities to this property to develop it separately, it would have to, this is a right-of-way, this current just vacant land. This is where the utilities would have to be brought in to develop this property. So it devalues our property. If it's locked up, it needs to be de-annexed to try and sell it separately.
Mr. Bragg, would you like to comment?
Nothing too much to add to this. We have had several discussions with the Arns over the last few months. The position of staff is that we would prefer that both properties come in under the existing boundary agreement with Lincolnshire. The main reason being that we feel if we start exempting certain properties out, it leaves them in a state of flux as far as what ultimately happens to them and could open up additional requests for the same type of situation as far as kind of opening up that whole Pandora's box, if you will, of those properties that are yet unincorporated but slated to go to Buffalo Grove. So that's, at that point, we informed the Arns that it was a matter for board consideration, that the policy is in place via the agreement that we have with Lincolnshire, unless the board wanted us to seek changing that agreement, and we can do that if you want us to.
Trustee Berman?
Maybe it's a naive question, but what precludes us from going forward with the request tonight just to annex the 2 parcels that they want to annex without waiving the right to enforce the boundary agreement in the future? In other words, the non-annexed properties would remain unincorporated and subject to later annexation should they be developed in accordance with the terms of the boundary agreement.
Well, I think there's 2 considerations. One is that the petitioner is requesting to annex for the purpose of accessing water service, and we have had some interesting situations with partial annexation, most notably with the Chevy Chase property, regarding providing some water service, but not all of the water service to that particular facility. So it's kind of, that's the opportunity, I guess I would say, the opportunity to get the annexation complete is when the water service is provided. There's nothing that would preclude us from enforcing a later annexation, although if there's an annexation agreement, I believe there is a statute of limitations, Mr. Rasek can correct me if I'm wrong, in which time for us to force the annexation to occur. 20 years, that's what I thought. So we could have a limitation if no development occurred on that property, and then later on, again, it kind of enters that state of limbo.
And when was that annexation agreement, or the agreement with Lincolnshire executed?
2005. So we've got a little ways before we get to 225.
Now, that agreement does not have a limitation on it.
Correct. I thought your question was, does an annexation...
But an annexation agreement, if we entered into a separate annexation agreement with the property owner to annex a portion of the property, but leave the balance of the property to be annexed later, we have a 20-year limitation on that.
Correct. The boundary line agreement does not have a 20.
But we don't even have to do that because we have the agreement necessarily with Lincolnshire anyways.
We'd have to go back and open up the whole agreement, or the possibility of opening up the whole agreement.
But my point is, the 20-year really doesn't make a difference because of the agreement with Lincolnshire. They would not be able to annex to Lincolnshire unless we approved it.
That's correct.
That's correct.
In fact, we could put in the annexation agreement, if we did one for these 2 parcels, that we are not surrendering any rights under the Lincolnshire-Buffalo Grove boundary agreement, and nothing contained in this agreement is to suggest to the contrary, so that anybody looking at the circumstances of the annexation would understand that Buffalo Grove intends to enforce its rights under the boundary agreement, and any subsequent development would either have to take place in the county or based on a subsequent annexation to Buffalo Grove. Correct?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. It leads into another policy matter. Do you want to allow through an annexation agreement for development to occur while it remains an unincorporated? If we go down that path, do we want to allow development to occur while it remains unincorporated, or would you want to trigger the annexation by virtue of additional development occurring on the property?
Well, as things stand right now, in the absence of an annexation agreement, they could develop in the county.
That's correct.
So
we're not losing anything, basically.
I'm struggling to understand what we're losing by simply acceding to the request and not giving up the rights that we have under the boundary agreement.
My general experience is that you have really one opportunity to gain development control, and that's at the time that you provide the water service. While in theory it sounds like, yes, we could always gain that control at a later date, my experience has dictated otherwise in the past. That typically that doesn't occur.
Thank you.
Trustee Thurston?
I think my naive question is going to trump the naiveness of your question. But you talk about the Buffalo Grove water being along Prairie and the Lincolnshire water being along Brockman. My question is, and I don't know if this question is for you or staff or who, but how difficult is it to get Buffalo Grove water, even though those properties might be closer to Brockman and to Lincolnshire water? How difficult is it to tap into the Buffalo Grove water from there?
There's no easement or right-of-way on the existing property between the rear lots and Prairie Road to run that service, so it would be a portion of my mother's actual property. And if she was not the sole owner of all of the lots, if we sold the lots to somebody else, now she would have their water service running through our lots. The only way to make that happen, to my understanding, would be to vacate a portion of her current property to allow that to happen. And then anytime there's maintenance done or anything breaks on that, now they're in her front yard digging it up. Whereas from Brockman, there's a right-of-way for a road to be made. It would run alongside that road.
But there is no road now, correct?
There is no road right now. No.
So right now, there is no access to the back.
Right.
And I would assume that if they were going to build back there, whoever was going to build that house would have to build the road from, around the corner, be a fairly significant 4 or 5 lot construction of a street. Which was probably more costly than running the utilities from Prairie to the back. That's to my opinion. But Trustee Trilling?
Could you please explain once again why you feel that you don't want to annex the rear property?
The gist of it is I want that property to be separately, if my mother is approaching retirement and once she's living on fixed income, if she ever needed the money, I want her to be able to sell those vacant lots, and I want them to have as much value as possible for her. And for them to have as much value as possible, the most probable interested party would actually be the owner of the property. He's actually already expressed interest. The property here, which sits between those lots and Brockman, is Mr. Martin, who's already serviced by Lincolnshire, and he's already expressed interest. He's written us letters that he would like to purchase that property. And of course, if he had the whole of this property, he would want all of it to be in one development. And if we sold it to anybody else separately, they would want to de-annex it from Buffalo Grove. If they were going to put in this road and put houses here, they would want to de-annex it and move it over to Lincolnshire. So I'm just trying to avoid that being what's necessary to develop that property.
But Lincolnshire, those houses to the east of you are not in Lincolnshire now. That's all unincorporated.
But they're serviced by Lincolnshire, and
that's not my point. My point is they're not in Lincolnshire now. Correct?
They're not in Lincolnshire now, but they are on the Lincolnshire side of the annexation agreement.
Okay. Any other questions? Any idea what people want to do as far as giving them an idea of how to proceed? Should we take a polling? I'm only going to give you a minute though, because there's no issues to this.
Jeff, according to state statute, until you change the laws, I don't think you can really limit my time to speak.
Well, no, you're wrong, because this is a
Well, that's right, you're an attorney. I'm not an attorney, I'm
Why
just...
can't you ever let me finish?
Because why would you say you could come up for only, what, a short time? You don't say that to anyone else. Because I tell the truth and you don't like it. It's a comment. I have a comment.
Please make it short.
Okay. I'm familiar with the comprehensive plan of 2009 and all the others in years past of all of how you plan. Post the year 2000 or so, 2001 to be specific. Is the area that these people are on, is it groundwater or is it Lake Michigan water from Lincolnshire, Buffalo Grove? I'm just curious. You would know that. Is it groundwater?
It's not in the village of Buffalo Grove now.
Okay, so it's an unincorporated, Trustee Berman?
Yes,
Or
if you've-
actually,
if you've
Trustee
been-
Trilling, you're an engineer.
If you've been hearing the testimony,
And you're a science
statements,
teacher.
you'll know it's unincorporated.
I know, so unincorporated means it's groundwater. And therefore...
No, it doesn't mean, it means it's kind of a well.
Right, well water, groundwater. It's the same, it's synonymous, but we could call it yours, well water. It's not like Michigan purchased surface water that Buffalo Grove pays about $10 million for, that I don't imagine is blended, but anyhow, my concern is that when it's groundwater or well water or water from the ground that's in an industrial zone, and you do your zoning in the ways that I've seen you do, I'm concerned about what you're building there. And I'm sure Trustee Sussman would agree with me as a science teacher, and probably Trustee Trilling is an engineer, and maybe Trustee Ottenheimer is a lawyer that does real estate, and maybe Andy, and let's see, the Park District would be Trustee Turson, where most of the bike paths and water are owned by the Park District. So I imagine one of you, and Jan Sarabian, you've been here forever, can you tell us about the water? Because I want to know what you're building there, and regardless
They're
of...
not building anything there.
Okay,
That's the
so
whole-
right there,
if you
trying
listen,
to.
they're
I do
asking-
listen.
there's
I
a
actually
house-
listen better than you.
Please, if there's a house there now, they're asking to incorporate that property into the village.
Okay,
That's it.
and that's
If
great. Let me
all
ask you
your
one question.
comment, thank
Here's
you,
my
please have a
question.
seat.
That house there, has it been on well water for all these years and you knew about it? You never told them about the industrial area and and all of that?
Thank you.
And the bike paths?
Please have a seat.
Okay, well, in case, tell your mother,
Please have a
would you,
seat.
about the water?
Please
It's
have a
well
seat.
water. You want to be, well, then you understand. So do you agree with me?
Lisa, please sit down.
Thank you. And the Jeff, absolutely. Thank you for letting me speak. It's my freedom of speech, actually.
We're going to have a polling. I guess yes would be that you would favor the annexation of the two parcels on the west two parcels.
Right.
And no would mean that you would want all four parcels. Does that sound logical? Okay. Polling, please.
Berman.
I'm torn between my natural inclination and staff's recommendation, and until I'm convinced, I'll lean a little on staff's side and vote no.
No? No. Okay. Trilling.
My sentiments exactly, no.
Sussman. No. Turson.
Well, I understand why you want to do what you want to do, but I'm leaning towards staff's recommendation as well, and I'm going to have to go no on that.
Stein.
As will I, no.
Ottenheimer.
For the same reasons, no.
We welcome you for annexation of the entire parcel, hopefully that you will, and you'll contact staff and we can move ahead. We'd like you to do so.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
If she were to sell the rear two lots in a quick claim deed to somebody else, and we reapproach for annexation of the front two properties, how would that change the matter?
Well, you could annex your portion of it. Those other people would still be subject to the agreement, and they would have to come into Buffalo Grove.
Or those people could seek modification of the agreement to
Well, but they have to
develop that
seek it
property.
through us. Understand? They
Right.
can't go. They can't merely go to Lincolnshire and ask them to change it. It has to be an agreement between Lincolnshire and the Village of Buffalo Grove. So I would suggest, if they do so, that you suggest or that you advise them of that concern. So, thank you. We hopefully that you'll come back to us with all four parcels. Thank you. Okay, next is award of bid upgrading of the old treatment plant in Cambridge on the Lake Lift Station. Trustee Stein, you're busy this week.
Before I go ahead, is this a motion?
This is, yes, award of bid.
Okay. I move approval of the award of the bid of the old treatment plant and Cambridge on the Lake lift stations to Mark Cresmery Construction LLC, as documented in our materials.
Is there a second? Second. Mr. Bragg, would you like to discuss this?
Yes, I would. Staff recommends actually rejecting the existing bid and providing staff the authority to negotiate a project award with an authority up to $383,700, which is just slightly less than the bid amount for the entire project. The project is planned and budgeted, would be paid from proceeds of an IEPA loan, and the engineer's estimate for the project was $427,200. The reason for the modification in our recommendation was a discussion that Mr. Skibby, as well as Trustee Trilling and I had earlier this afternoon regarding the award of the bid, and the bidder is generally agreeable, I shouldn't say agreeable, is generally agreeable to those conditions. Staff can answer any questions you may have.
Trustee Trilling?
Just a couple quick clarifications. The first thing is that it's not an award of bid, it's an intent to award the bid. Eventually, it would become potentially an award, which we would authorize staff to negotiate. The second thing is that...
Well, before we move on to the second thing,
Yes.
Mr. Reza, so if it's not an award bid, then the motion, there should be no motion then. They'll bring it back for a motion for an award of the project.
Well, correct, but at the same time, there has to be a motion to reject all bids.
Okay.
Then waive bids and authorize staff, as the village manager is stating, authorize staff to negotiate with this entity. Because then it will come back, Trustee Trilling is correct, it will come back for the final award of bid after, because of the IEPA requirements.
Okay, so Trustee Stein, I assume you're going to amend your motion to reject all bids, to waive the bid process, and to authorize staff to negotiate with a certain vendor. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And the second will accept that? Okay. Now, Trustee Trilling. Number two.
Number two, I was disappointed by the lack of interest, at least appeared to be lack of interest, on behalf of a number of contractors in bidding this project. It's of substantial size, and I would ask staff moving forward, and I have spoken with a number of people who did not bid on, who elected not to bid on the project for whatever reason, as I did also spoke with Mike Skibby, who was our civil engineer who oversaw this on behalf of the village. I did not speak with the engineering firm, that Burke, who performed the design as well as the plans for bidding. But I would like moving forward, anytime that we award a design contract, whether it be for streets, whether it be for buildings, whether it be for equipment, whatever it may be, that as part of that contract, that we make the design professional responsible for, and the follow-up for, obtaining multiple bids. I don't think there's enough interest on behalf of our design professionals they will be willing, I'm sure, to promote the project, and they'll publish it in the appropriate journals or other venues, but I don't believe that there's enough follow-up in obtaining and making sure we obtain multiple bids. And I'd like to see them have a tickler file where when we send it out, they provide a list of the people that they're going to solicit bids from, because we obviously do not have the capability internally to know the contractors that are servicing this area, but our design professionals certainly should. And there should be a tickler list of who they're going to contact. There should be a list of follow-up as plans are distributed to make sure that they're interested in bidding it, to make sure that there's going to be a bid at the time. And I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Reza, to please make sure in future agreements that we have solid language that they are responsible for following up and making sure that multiple bids are received. Because I would not support this in any future manner without having multiple bids.
Mr. Reza, if you can have some further discussion with Trustee Trilling about his ideas, and so we can incorporate that type of language.
Yes, Mr. President, I will.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because in the last several years we've seen more and more single bids or no bids, et cetera, and that obviously is very concerning to everybody. Any other questions, comments?
I do.
This is not a public hearing, so...
I have a comment to the item agenda. I'm allowed to.
No, there's nothing in there.
Well, it's about the water, it's about the lift station, and the lack of competitive bidding.
Mr. Reza.
It's a healthy system. Competitive bidding matters.
Mr. Reza.
And they've gotten the bid before in 2011.
You're out of order.
And I'm worried about the water. I might be out of order, but I'm worried about water.
Okay.
And I'm out of order for it.
Please call the roll.
Wait. Attorney Reza, am I allowed to have a comment according to Robert's Rules, Buffalo Grove style?
Please call the roll.
Well, okay, can you stop? Can you start doing a little competitive bidding for the healthy process?
Turson.
Just keep giving it to them, okay?
Yes.
Because it's the water, it's the sewer water.
Motion carried.
It is the sewer water at Buffalo Grove and the water system.
Please have a seat.
Are you going to be the president? Or are you just going to say okay to everything and waive bids and give it to the bidder that you want to have?
Next item, authorization to waive
Well, I made my
bids.
point.
Please.
Yeah, please,
Authorization to
please
waive
you.
bids and to purchase 700 trees for replacement.
It's water, you know, you need
parkway
it.
trees
We're running out of it,
affected by
Jeff.
EAB. Please have a seat. Please just sit down. Okay, is there a, Trustee Stein?
Yes, I move authorization to waive bids and to purchase 700 trees for replacement of the parkway trees affected by the emerald ash borer as documented in our packets.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bragg, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. This agreement would extend our November 2011 contract pricing for the purchase of an additional 700 trees yet this fall, which would bring us up to speed on the remaining trees that have been removed for EAB but have not yet been replaced in the village. The purpose of this action is to get us caught up with our current stock of removals, and then the remaining items that you see, as well as additional items that will come before the board yet this year, will be intended to secure additional trees to respond to the EAB infestation. This purchase is not to exceed $165,000, and if approved, this purchase will be paid from the proceeds of the revolving line of credit, which the board will consider later this evening. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? There is Trustee Berman.
Is the actual authorization subject to the subsequent approval of the revolving line of credit, or should we make the motion subject to that?
It would probably be useful if you make the motion subject to that. Yes.
So amended.
The second amendment approve? Okay. Will you please let's vote on the motion?
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman. Aye. Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Oppenheimer.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carried.
Next item, authorization to waive bids and award contract, the 2012 Part 2 tree growing contract. Trustee Stein.
I move authorization to waive bids and award contract 2012 Part 2 tree growing contract, subject to the information provided to us in our packets.
Mr. Bragg?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Staff also recommends approval of this authorization to enter into a contract with Eugene A. de St. Aubin and Brothers, which would provide up to 3,300 parkway trees that would be planted on the village's behalf and in response to the EAB infestation. The amount of the contract would not exceed $561,000 and would further lock in the 2012 pricing for the trees that you approved, the 1,000 trees that you approved earlier this year. Our combined total of tree growing contracts for EAB response would be 4,300 trees, including this contract. Based on the estimated infestation impact, we would have an additional 2,000 trees to be required to be purchased in 2013 and 2014 to replace all of the scheduled removals. This item is also subject to the expenditure of funds from a revolving line of credit, which is to be discussed by the board later this evening. Thank you.
And can you explain again the reason for the bid waiver?
The reason for the bid waiver is that the contractor agreed to lock in the 2012 pricing, which has been more aggressive than what we've been able to obtain through the Suburban Tree Purchasing Cooperative.
You mean the 2011 pricing?
No, this is for 2012. It's kind of confusing. The 700 trees that we'll take delivery of this fall are on the 2011 pricing.
Okay, right. Okay.
Nod your head right, Mike. Okay. And then this batch is what they're planting on our behalf, which will be harvested in 2015 and 2016, which will be on the 2012 prices.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Trilling?
Thank you. I was wondering if our village manager or Mike from Public Works could explain what the Suburban Tree Consortium is.
Sure. Mike, would you like to explain that?
I love delegation.
That's the power of being the manager.
Similar to the Municipal Partnering Initiative, there is a Suburban Tree Consortium that works, it's not through the Northwest Municipal Conference, but it might be the North Suburban Municipal Conference, that we've been able to obtain their bid documents and take a look at some of the pricing that they're getting for tree growing. And we believe this is more competitive than what we've seen through them.
Okay, and have we discussed with them in any way what future pricing they may have, whether the pricing may be going up or down?
As far as from this contract?
Yes. No, from this consortium.
I believe across the board, for all tree purchases, prices are going up for everybody. Our contractors even seen the prices of tree liners go up since we approached the board earlier this year about this tree growing contract. So people are starting to ramp up. We're riding the crest of that wave, trying to catch the pricing before it really skyrockets.
And I assume the reason it's going up is because everybody's losing those trees, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of trees, and therefore it's supply and demand.
This is a huge epidemic, yes.
Yeah, essentially what we're trying to accomplish by doing this is locking in a cohort of trees that are planted specifically for the village of Buffalo Grove, so we're not subject to those price spikes that are going to occur over the next 3 to 5 years as communities respond to the EAB epidemic.
And also make sure that those trees are available to the village.
Yes, they will.
Not sold to anybody else for a higher price.
They will be our trees. Now, obviously, there's a success factor that goes with that. Not every tree turns out to be a perfect tree. So, they plant so many on our behalf, and then we monitor the success. Our forestry division also monitors the care and maintenance of the trees on a somewhat regular basis to ensure that we're getting the yields out of the growing season as much as we can.
I'm sorry, there's one other question too, if I may. As far as payment, do we pay once we have the trees delivered, or is there some other arrangement?
It's paid on an annual basis. I'm not sure how it's divided.
There's a payment schedule in the draft contract that we attached. Basically, it's a higher payment up front to cover the purchase of the tree liners, and then we have a maintenance payment each year, and then a large payment at the end once we actually receive the trees. So it's the schedule is laid out that way.
And just talking to protect the village, I realize this particular, if they call it nursery, has been around for how many years? I mean, almost forever, longer than I've been alive, probably. Is there any rights we will have as far as, I'm going to call it lien rights or whatever else? In other words, those are our trees. So if they were to go under in some way, we would maintain ownership of them?
It is my opinion that the answer to that question is yes, but at the same time, I have recommended to staff that we, like the previous contract, we have the nursery bonded, so that we don't have X number of dollars and all of a sudden the perfect storm comes up, Steve, where...
Well, today, you don't even know what can happen. So.
Yeah, and that's my concern, that why we would require a performance bond, and why right now staff is looking at IRMA to provide something called crop coverage.
Crop insurance is basically where we're headed. We're working through IRMA and their insurance providers to try and line up coverage for these trees.
I'm sure Mr. Burek has a lot of experience in that from his earlier life. Is that language in the agreement currently?
What Mike has done is in the overview, he has addressed those issues as far as the ability of the St. Albans to bond it. And as I understand it, Mike, the bonding is for the bonding is to guarantee, obviously, the trees, but at the same time, there's a question of collateralization for the bond that St. Albans can't meet.
Correct. We were able to receive a bond on the first batch of trees at a smaller amount. There was about 1,000 trees. Now that it's up at 3,000 trees, it's approaching $500,000. Trees do not count as collateral for a nursery to their insurance company. So St. Albans is not able to provide collateral to get a bond, through them to provide to the village. So we're looking at outside coverage to protect our interests.
And now the motion today is to recommend approval of a bid waiver and authorization to enter into a contract. So that contract hasn't necessarily been formulated, and it will come back to us, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Trustee Turson.
Thank you. Being that we've established that the marketplace is very likely going to change and the price of trees is going to go up, and we've also established the fact that there's no guarantee that all the trees that we contract to have planted are going to come to fruition, my question is there any advantage to us to, in a sense, overbuy, to purchase more trees than we think we're going to need? Because even if all the trees come to fruition and we have too many trees, it sounds like the marketplace will be short of trees and we would be able to sell them to other municipalities probably at a higher price than we purchased them.
We do have a 90% guarantee written in, so that if our batch of trees, if a portion larger than 10% dies off, the nursery has to replace them out of their stock. So we've got some buffer there. Now, should we overplant to try and cover that other 10%? That's another option.
I guess I would ask the question, I'm going to guess that we're not their only customer in this situation, and what if they don't have extra trees by that time? What if other municipalities enter into similar agreements and there's just not enough trees?
I believe they would have to buy trees on their own from some other nursery to reimburse us as part of their contract. Bill
And
Reisinger,
the
maybe.
backstop on that, Trustee Turson, is a performance bond or crop coverage.
Okay.
We're going to have $400,000 paid out through December 1st, 2015. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
To all of a sudden have a perfect storm come up and then wipe out all the trees and have the village be out that type of money. So the staff is recommending, yes, we either get a performance bond, some type of insurance, some type of crop coverage to protect the money we have up front.
All right, well, I'm just thinking out loud before we enter into any of this.
You should try and make a profit, huh?
I appreciate you listening. Right.
Mr. Bragg?
If I may, to build on that discussion, the best way I can think of to describe this is it's almost like buying and selling futures. I mean, it was really what we're doing. We're buying these options to get these different waves of contracts of trees to be supplied to us. In going through this process, the timing is really very critical, and we're also trying to figure out and guesstimate the removal time frame as well as the replacement time frame, because we don't exactly know how the trees are going to react. We're starting to see in the northern part of the village, the trees are really starting to show serious signs of distress. So we don't exactly know how many trees we're going to need and when. By doing this, it allows us to get the tree planting started, get the trees growing. We'll be coming back to you with options as far as bonding, insuring, whatever the best options are there. But I anticipate this number is going to kind of go up and down a little bit in the next year or so as we understand how widespread the infestation is and how quickly it's affecting the trees.
Thank you. Trustee Sussman?
Has the village made any decision as to whether they are willing to plant, once they remove the tree, and a resident is willing to buy a big tree for that hole, are they willing to plant the tree for the resident?
That will be part of another presentation that we will make in October. We are evaluating those options. There are a lot of logistic issues that we have to work through right now, such as just getting the trees down and getting them replanted, and what are the logistical issues that may be presented to the village by virtue of a landscaper coming in and installing trees on behalf of a private owner, et cetera. But that'll be part of a more comprehensive strategy we'll talk about in October. And going through the winter, we plan to do a fairly extensive public outreach campaign over the winter months regarding what the plan is and what residents can expect and how to sign up for those types of things.
Trustee Ottenheimer?
I just want to make sure something. We haven't entered into this contract yet, have we? But we were discussing the terms that we'd like to include it. Is that what I'm hearing?
What we're doing is we're authorizing staff to go and begin negotiations.
Yes, okay. And we could have all these great ideas, and the other side could say, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. Right. Okay, just so I understand.
And we don't have to agree to
No, but everyone's talking like, I want this, and I want this, and I wish it were that simple, but okay.
Isn't it?
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns? Anything else you want to add?
No, that covers it.
Okay. Yes, there's a gentleman behind you.
Has any thought been given to the special blend of the trees that we're purchasing, where they're all going to be replacement ashes or where they're going to mixed up with oaks, maples?
We've talked about this numerous times. There's a whole litany of trees. None of those will be ash trees, I believe. There's going to be a multitude of trees, and I think Mr. Bragg will have a list of those.
Yes, on our website we have an EAB response plan that includes the species of trees that will be replacing the ash trees with, as well as the diversification requirements, meaning that in most villages they clustered tree by species for many, many years. That will no longer be done. There will have to be a certain variety and diversification of the trees throughout the areas to hopefully stop future problems with infestation.
We'll always have problems. What we want to do is limit those problems and limit the numbers. There's always going to be some problem with trees and infestation. Dutch elm disease 40 years ago, same thing now, and there'll be another one. So if we diversify the stock, it'll be less impact on the village.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't look so happy to see me. Trees happen to be something that, I have a question, first of all, so I appreciate the timer, and I know my boundaries. I think I'll actually be less than 5 minutes on this one. Anyway, my concern is a reflection, or as I recall, no pun intended, is that back in 2010, early 2010, or sometime during that period that I was discussing Land and Lakes landfill and right along Barclay Avenue, I noticed in some of the FOIAs that I did that there was discussion between, I think, some of the engineers, Boyson and Kunkel. Well, Kunkel's not here anymore. Did he just resign or get fired?
He retired.
He retired, right. Oh, he was in the newspaper article when they said great things about Gita and they didn't mention much of him. On April 2nd, I discussed him at the meeting regarding that 1995 change of address of 800 Cross Drive, Buffalo Grove, 60089 that does not exist on the CAF property.
Is there
Yeah, okay, here's the question on the trees. Regarding the trees in water and bike paths that Trustee Trilling knows a lot about, and so does his college friend that used to be a trustee called Trustee
And is that part of the
Kahn.
question?
Well, it is, because Trustee Kahn's in the wastewater business, and Trustee Trilling, he takes care of the bike paths, and they're exactly where the creeks are. My concern about the trees is that the 200 that were taken down right by Thompson, north of there, behind Westchester and Old Farm, where there was a lot of articles, I think, by Crystal and AOL Patch and Steve Zaleski and Daily Herald and Sean Stillmaker and everyone that talked about 200 trees that came down. What was interesting is that it was not emerald ash borer. Now, that just happened in the past 6 or 9 months that they took down 200 trees after I've been discussing for many years the Land and Lakes landfill and the runoff water that goes into the Apticus Creek that's just a few feet west of it. Yeah, I am.
No.
I'm hold on. You're interrupting me, and actually that's not nice.
Your speaking has to be relevant to this.
Well, it is.
issue.
Okay, the question
It's
is,
not.
here it is. Here it is.
Please deal
I
with
am.
this issue.
Listen, I'm a woman and you're a man. You might get to facts differently, but I'm within my time frame, so please be
No, you're
respectful.
only within your time frame if it's
Okay,
relevant.
but you only do this to me, and I've got blood pressure, so please stop it, Jeff.
Okay, so do I, okay?
Well, then probably
have
because
something in common.
well, it's probably because, but the difference is I could sleep at night. You
point.
can't.
Please get
That's
to
the
your
difference.
question and be
I sleep at
relevant.
night. You shouldn't. Anyway, the issue is this. The trees that I think we're waiving bids once again, as we always do, and they seem to go to the bidder that it seems that you guys want to have that order. And healthy competitive bidding is for a reason, to keep it clean, just like clean water. Not to mention my Lake County Vernon Township Coalition for Safe Drinking Water and the Clean Water Act is just a small coalition of me and Kitty Kurth, Kevin Lampe, and Brenda Weiss. The first two work with Vice President Biden, and the other prepared Barack Obama for the 04 Senate. But my right arm is Brenda Weiss, who is 73 years old, lives in Lincolnshire, found toxic wells while the Lincolnshire was drinking bottled water. The water testing company went to jail. Okay, the engineer was fired. Anyway, the point about the trees is this. I don't think you should just keep waiving bids. I was here for years. You waived everything. Waive.
Never objected to them.
Oh, you know what? I was consumed with water in your actions and your warrants and your line by line.
Is your
Okay,
point that
yes.
we shouldn't waive the bids?
No, my point is different. I want to know if all the trees that you're replacing, is it just, I want percentage-wise, if emerald ash borer or those 200 that came down, that it had nothing to do with emerald ash borer, right behind Westchester. It had nothing at all to do with it. It had more to do with the Clean Water Act. I believe. You tell me, Jeff, you're the president. 200 trees came down after I talked about the Land and Lakes landfill that was running off into Laptakissa Creek that the maps didn't show.
Is there a question regarding this?
Yeah,
issue
that was
or
the
not?
Lake Forest
There is
mayor.
not.
Okay, the question is this. The question is, what are the trees? What did they die from? What were they taken down for?
Okay, if you have a seat.
It's a question. You said ask a question. Dane, can you answer?
You'll be
Well, answer.
do you ever stop? Do you ever
Actually,
let
yeah. You know when I'm going to
let
stop?
other
When you're
people
down.
talk?
When you're down and you're not running for Lake County Judge, I'll stop. I promise. My word of honor, I'll stop with you.
Will you?
Well, I'll go with the others.
Nobody can talk. You have to interrupt them.
You know why? Because when I sat on the board, I told the truth and you didn't. And I continue to.
Take it down.
And that's why, Jeff.
Please wait for an answer.
Okay, I didn't hear the question. Were you directing it to me or Dane? Or Bill Brim? He's not here anymore,
Removal
though.
of the trees along the creek was for stream bank stabilization and removal of invasive species.
For 200 trees, you felt that all the people were crying it was their trees. You know how you feel about trees in your yard? They're all gone.
I don't.
Do you know why,
Opinion on
Dane?
that.
Because you came from Galesburg,
Removal of the trees.
near Peoria, no?
For
You let him talk?
stream bank stabilization and to remove invasive species.
Okay, can I ask you?
There's a vegetative management plan for the creek.
Oh, I understand better than you, Dane. I'm the one that found it.
Well, maybe you do, but
I do.
that's
But
what
do you know?
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask you, are there any more bike paths? Can we ask?
The
Okay.
question's been answered.
Okay, well, I got 1 minute.
Is there any
For-
other-
Yes, for trustee
is there any
Trilling.
other
I have 1 minute time. You're actually thwarting my voice. I have 1 minute.
You know what? You don't have a right to speak.
Well, then we could talk about that at another time over coffee. Right now, I have 59 seconds. I have one more question for Trustee Trilling. Trustee Trilling, do you have any more bike paths that we're going to take down hundreds of trees again? Maybe you can ask your retired friend Bruce Kahn, who works in the wastewater industry.
Motion carried.
Gotta love Buffalo Grove. By the way, it can get better. Every person should stand up and take a position.
Please have a seat.
Thank you. Will you pull it out for me?
Next item, concurrent development improvement agreements for Chase Bank and Plaza improvement projects and approval of a plat of easement. Trustee Berman.
Defer to staff.
Thank you, Trustee Berman. This has been a matter of quite a bit of discussion with the board regarding the development improvement agreement at this point and the contingent infrastructure agreement for the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank project, as well as the revitalization of the Plaza at Buffalo Grove Shopping Center by Newport Equities LLC. As you may recall, on August 6th, the board approved an amendment to the contingent infrastructure agreement at the request of the developer that would have provided for an increased escrow for the traffic signal to be constructed, to be deposited in the amount of $792,188 by the developer and to the benefit of the village for the installation of the traffic signal. There were also provisions relating to the application for permit from the Cook County Highway Department as the regulatory agency for the construction of the traffic signal, as well as other provisions within that agreement. The village agreed to remove the certificate of occupancy requirement for the Chase Bank project as part of the agreement and in receipt of the larger escrow amount. The developer had at that time agreed to a 7-day requirement to place the escrow on deposit with the village, which 7 business days, which the deposit has not been made with the village at this time. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and Newport Equities requested amendments to the development improvement agreements for the project, which Mr. Reza was extensively involved in putting those amendments together. We have requested multiple times to receive the executed contingent infrastructure agreement as well as the traffic signal escrow deposit. As I understand, this evening we received the executed contingent infrastructure agreement, and also a check was provided to the village. However, there was a disclaimer, I believe, associated with that. I don't have that correspondence. Do you have it, Mr. Reza?
Yes, I do, if I can, Mr. Bragg, and follow up. Prior to the meeting tonight, Attorney Tom Moffitt, who is at the podium right now, who represents the petitioner, presented to myself 4 documents. The first document being an original First Amendment to the assignment, assumption, and amendment of contingent infrastructure agreement, which has been correctly signed and duly signed by the owner. 2, the agreement concerning the Buffalo Grove Road traffic signal at the entrance to the plaza at Buffalo Grove Shopping Center has been executed by the owner. 3, the development improvement agreement agreed to by village staff and Mr. Moffitt has been signed by the owner. I'm in possession of that, so I have 3 executed documents that is referenced in your overview, Mr. Bragg. In addition, I have a 4th document, and that is check number 8962, made out to the Village of Buffalo Grove for $792,188. The cover letter that I previously showed to the village president, Mr. Bragg, has been removed from those 4 documents. And I believe that Mr. Moffitt wants to make a presentation to the board.
Mr. Moffitt.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We apologize for the delay in making the deposit. The village now has $792,000, although the check hasn't cleared, but $792,000 plus with the money from Dominic's, that's $1 million for the construction of this traffic signal, which is estimated to cost $500,000 to complete. The reason for the delay was we're still finalizing our agreement with Chase Bank. We finalized that on Friday afternoon, and so now we are full speed to go, and we're ready to proceed. We have received a response from the County Highway Department regarding our application for a permit for the traffic signal, and they made some requests for some minor changes to the plans, which our engineers are working on. They also requested a new traffic warrant study, which our engineers are also working on. They said it'll take about 3 weeks to get that completed, so we will meet the county's timeframes for that. But that did raise an issue which none of us had really anticipated, since we were surprised that they requested a new traffic study, since it seems unlikely that traffic has decreased in the last 10 years on that road. But the question that arose was, what happens if the county says that the traffic is not sufficient to warrant a traffic signal there and denies our application for a permit? So we just want to make a statement for the record that provided that we are fully compliant with the infrastructure agreement as amended, if the county says, no, you can't have a traffic signal, there's not enough traffic, it is our expectation that we would be entitled to a refund of the $792,188 deposit that we have given to the village.
And I want to make sure we're clear that the letter that you put some provision about refunding that has been withdrawn. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And
I'm
your
making
deposit
a statement for the record and, as to what our expectation would be.
Okay, and the deposit is without conditions, more or less, at this point. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're just hoping for good faith?
We're showing good faith, and we're hoping to receive it in return.
Of course. Thank you. Trustee Berman.
Thank you. When Mr. Bragg was making his initial comments, it was a little loud out here, and so I just want to make sure I understand it. Staff's position at this point that the contingencies are met and that it is appropriate to proceed with this matter this evening?
That is correct. The only remaining item was, well, in addition to the signed agreements, was obviously the money, the escrow deposit. And if that has been provided without condition, that was the only remaining item. If Bill Race is raising his hand, Bill.
No, you're correct, but I would direct the board, Mr. Bragg, to the overview in front of them right now. So there are several subject twos as far as receipt of the following fees, deposits, things like that. But as far as the recommendation of action, all those items have been received.
Yes.
So Mr. Race, the form of the motion that I need to make would be to approve the development improvement agreements for the Chase Bank and Plaza Improvements Project, subject to the conditions listed on the overview page contained in the packet?
That would be my recommendation, Trustee Berman.
And I would so move for purposes of further discussion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Bragg?
Just the only thing I would add was we obviously have not had a chance to verify the funds. We believe that they're there, but we would take care of that tomorrow. So that would be part of the condition of Mr.
These approvals, Mr. Race, would be subject to a motion to reconsider at our next meeting in the event that the money was not there? That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Moffett, I know this has been somewhat lengthy and sometimes contentious, but I appreciate the fact that we're finally, hopefully, getting to that point. So we appreciate your help. Please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman.
Aye.
Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the next item also? Or is it?
Item F was a request to reconsider ordinance number 2012-038. That was my recommendation based on the fact that we had not received those funds. The fact that we have received them now, I don't know if anybody wants to make that motion. Anybody would like to make that motion, or are we good? We're good? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, authorization of the village manager to execute the Village of Buffalo Grove taxable revolving line of credit summary of terms and conditions. Trustee Berman.
For purpose of discussion, I would move authorization of the village manager to execute the Village of Buffalo Grove taxable revolving line of credit summary, or line of credit as stated in our overview, and I would defer to staff.
Second.
Katie?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Today's 30-day LIBOR rate is 23 basis points for a current rate of 0.83%. In addition, the unused portion of the line will be assessed a fee of 10 basis points. At the end of the 3-year period, the village will then look to refinance the line of credit or do a takeout financing by issuing GO bonds. The village opted to issue taxable debt instead of non-taxable debt, as the premium is only 10 basis points more to issue taxable debt, and it offers more flexibility in the use of the funds. As a condition of the line of credit and low interest rate offered, the village is required to establish a service relationship with PNC Bank. To that end, the village intends to move its purchase card program to PNC Bank, subject to negotiation of the program details. Today's authorization just allows the village to negotiate a formal agreement with the PNC Bank and finalize all details associated with establishing the line of credit. So I can answer any questions.
Trustee Nemmer?
Thank you. You put this out for bid, and how many responded?
2.
How did you put it? I mean, what institutions did you know receive this, or?
Kevin McCann from Spear Financial put together a letter that was then sent to 5 different banks. The banks were, I'm sorry, that's Wells Fargo, PNC, Wintrust Financial, Chase Bank, and Northern Trust.
How was it decided that those banks would receive it versus a lot of other banks, if you know?
The basis really depends on what line of business they're in, to be honest. He goes through a process and interviews the different banks that do a lot of public finance work.
Correct.
And then evaluates who is looking to lend, essentially. So he generally has a pretty good idea of what the rate spreads are going to look like. And in this case, we got 2 who hit, which isn't all that uncommon. You may have 2 or 3.
No, I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
No, so do you feel confident that the 5 banks that were given the opportunity to make this presentation or bid is sufficient? I mean, I know not every bank does public lending, but and I don't know, but I'm having trouble believing that only 5 banks will do public lending.
Well, several of them do public lending. The issue a lot of times depends on how much line of credit work they do and how much they have available to lend at any particular time, and how attractive we as a customer may look to any one bank or another. When you go into a bonding situation, you auction and you may have 17 or 18 banks that are, cranking on it at one time. Whereas in this situation, you just may not have as many who are interested. I mean, we would have anticipated maybe a couple of the other bigger banks would have bid, but they chose not to. Okay. But based on the rates, I've never seen revolving line of credit rates this low ever. So I'm very aggressive rate.
And I don't disagree with the aggressive rate. I just want to know if any of these terms that PNC proposed are negotiable, or is that this is the terms, if you want the money, take it, or that's it?
Well, certainly, there's kind of a courtship process that is undergone during this time. So basically what happens is if the board is comfortable, you'll give me authorization to negotiate the final agreement with them as far as the terms, and then that comes back to the board for approval in November before the line is actually issued. So yes, it is negotiable.
Good, because when the time comes, Mr. Bragg, I'd like to have a discussion. There's a number of provisions in here that I would like to at least try to negotiate out.
Okay.
Okay. So, but we're not bound by this agreement at this point at all.
No.
Okay.
This just gives me authorization to negotiate.
Great. Thank you.
Well, the authorization is to execute the agreement.
It should just be for the negotiation. Okay, I won't execute anyone until you tell me to.
So modified.
Okay.
Yeah, because the final agreement, Mr. Reese, will have to come back before the board anyway, because this doesn't represent the final agreement. It'll be much, much thicker. So.
Okay, that's what I was concerned about. Thank you.
Trustee Trilling.
In our packet, there wasn't any information relative to the other bank's proposal. Could you share with us what the market rates were from that other proposal?
Scott went and took the night off. The other proposal was from Wintrust.
No, I'm sorry, it was from Northern Trust.
Northern Trust. And this one is 60 points, 30-day LIBOR plus 60, and I believe the other one was 30-day LIBOR plus 110 or 120, something like that. So it was quite a bit higher. Yeah, it was quite a bit higher than the rate that we were offered. Now, PNC has requested a banking relationship with this, which does not mean we have to move all of our accounts or anything like that. We would look probably to move our purchase card business toward them to establish that required relationship. So that's part of, I guess, the teaser, if you will, to get the relationship with the village that they're asking for.
And was the other competing bank assessing a fee based upon the unused portion of the line of credit?
Yes, and they were essentially the same, and that is normal for a non-usage fee to be applied for the unused portion of the line. The reason being that the bank has to encumber the funds for the entire line, whether you use it or not, for each year. So that's why the non-usage fee is applied.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I assume that this rate is based upon the village's history and the village's bond ratings, if you will?
Yes, we are in a very attractive position to have a revolving line of credit, essentially. So.
Okay. And I assume the purpose of this is for most purposes just to be fluid in the amount of cash that we need. Otherwise, we would probably have gone to some other financing method that would be more permanent.
Yes, particularly with the EAB infestation, we're very concerned about the availability of resources. We're concerned about the infestation compressing, and all of a sudden we have to deploy additional resources than we had previously planned to respond to that, and this gives us the ability to do that. So we can draw on it quickly and react very quickly if we need to. We did look at a bond option for EAB, and at this point we feel it's just too unpredictable to meet the arbitrage requirements of a bond and actually get the funds expended, not knowing exactly how the infestation will play out.
I'll let Scott know you did a good job.
Thank you.
Did his job.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, there's a motion as amended and a second. The second accept?
Yep.
Okay, please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman.
Aye.
Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item, authorization to increase the not-to-exceed cost on the New World software system purchase. Trustee Berman.
For purposes of discussion, I would move authorization to increase the not-to-exceed cost on the New World software system purchase by $74,040 in accordance with the materials contained in our packet, and otherwise defer to staff.
Is there a second? Mr. Bragg? Katie?
Okay. Implementation of the new financial software from New World is underway and going well. The original contract was approved on December 19, 2011, and included a contingency for additional training and modules. Tentatively, there are 2 modules that we will be adding. One will be positional budgeting, and the other one would be a purchase card interface. These 2 modules will reduce the amount available for contingencies to approximately $15,000. At this point, we would like to increase the not-to-exceed amount by $75,040 to allow for the purchase of a public safety timekeeping software and Laserfiche. The public safety timekeeping software will allow the police and fire departments to better track and schedule their employee time, and it will integrate with New World pretty seamlessly. It'll be an import from the timekeeping software into New World's payroll system. Laserfiche will enhance the enterprise content management capabilities within the village and allow users to scan invoices directly into New World. Staff is here and available to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the board? Trustee Trilling?
I think it's a great idea going to a digital methodology of storage of invoices. What happens to the original invoice?
Currently, right now, we are having departments send the original invoice back to finance where we hold on to it to make sure that it's been scanned correctly, but then they'll be thrown away. We have permission from the state of Illinois to maintain digital records instead of paper records.
Okay. But it will be destroyed by the finance department, not by the individual departments.
Right.
Okay.
Will they be kept at least until after the audit?
It's questionable. What we've heard from other villages who use New World and Laserfish together is that they just give their auditors a log on into New World, and they basically do a lot of the field work themselves. You have a list of invoices you want to test, well, pull them up and you see the supporting documents. So.
Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Mr. Bragg, anything else you want to add? If you can tell us how is it progressing with the new software?
Scarily, no. I'm just,
slowly.
At this point, we have launched the core financials, and that's moving along. The purchasing module has been a bit of a challenge getting people used to that, but we've changed the purchasing processes quite a bit. So a lot more is done on the front end of the purchasing process rather than the back end. We are moving into the utility billing launch will be next, and that is?
I believe that's end of October.
End of October. Is when we will launch the utility billing, and then the timekeeping and payroll will launch in January. So we are making significant steps. I think people are getting used to the software. As we get the utility billing module put together, then you'll start to see the electronic side, the e-services side, come to life, if you will. And we are also currently assessing the community development module as an option to manage licensing and building permits and those functions. But we think that will probably be a 2013 at the earliest project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no other questions, please, and there's been a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman.
Aye.
Turson.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, we will go back to the consent items. Item I, authorization to reject all bids, waive bids, and award contract for 2012 sewer televising. The summary was, due to an error in the bid, staff recommends the village board reject all bids, waive bids, and award a contract to National Power Rotting Corp. at the revised unit prices in the amount not to exceed $100,000. All other bid conditions and specifications remain intact.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bragg?
Hold on a second. We have the low bidder National Power Rotting Corp. had a mistake on its bid pricing sheet. They actually was bid at a linear foot for alternate one heavy cleaning, and that was, they actually mistakenly bid per hour instead of per linear foot, and they confirmed in writing that their price should be $1.25 per linear foot. All of the remaining bid conditions remain intact, as well the not to exceed amount is $100,000. The way that we work this contract is that we budget a specific amount, and then we do as much work as we have within that budgeted authority each year. So that's how we would do this contract as well.
Trustee Berman?
Mr. Bragg, do I understand correctly that this was the lowest bidder, and the mistake would actually, or correcting the mistake would actually lower the price even further, making them even more competitive or a better competitive bid than even they brought in, which was the best bid that we saw?
That is correct. It did lower the unit cost, and they were the low bidder prior to any consideration of this one item on alternate one. And I should note that this was an alternate. This was not part of the core bid that this error was discovered.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? No. Mrs. Stone? Put it on. There's a switch there.
Oh, is that working? Thank you. Okay. All right. My concern and why I asked to remove this from the consent agenda, and I always would encourage citizens to look very closely at consent agendas, because that's typically not to be cynical, but that's typically where government buries things that they don't want you to know about. So you should
Well,
look.
that's, you know what, I'm going to object to you right there, because
Okay, I'm sorry.
we don't do
I don't
that.
mean
And
you,
please don't
I just
make
said
the
government, I didn't say
inference.
Buffalo Grove, I
Okay,
said government.
But don't make the inference then, please.
Well, actually, sometimes it's insulting what citizens say, but that's freedom of speech, and I don't do it under a false moniker.
I'm asking you not to make that
Okay, I'll
inference.
try not to be offensive. Okay,
Thank you.
I would thank government for no longer putting things under the consent agenda then. At least put it in a positive, the half full. So please, if you put consent, like you just spoke about pricing, that would have been nice to know. Unless I removed it to talk about, no one would have known. But more importantly, I wasn't even worried about the money. I never am. What worries me is the sewer televising. And I just want to ask, the new downtown that you're building, which I'm not sure how anyone is going to afford it in these times, I actually think Town Center would be the place to build with that synergy with the Stone's last laugh as an anchor. But anyway, the point being is that there's sewers that run along there. And they run, I think, right to that golf course. So there's something to do with sewers. That a lot of citizens that have lived here for like 50, I don't know how long Jan's been here, for like 35 years or 40 or 60, I'm not sure. But anyhow, they tell me about I'm teasing, I know. No, you look good for your age, Jan.
What an insult.
No, I was being positive. I'm trying to be positive. I mean, we don't see eye to eye on other things, but you look good for your age. Anyhow. Okay, the point that concerns me is that the sewer, we all know, I mean, it's no surprise that I've been watching the water very closely for 2.5 years, about 18 hours a day, 16 to 18. Okay,
Please.
Trustee Berman. Oh, Trilling. Oh, when I talk water, Trilling gets very agitated.
No,
It's
I
those
want
bike
you to talk
pathways.
specifically about the
Are you my
ride.
boss? You work for me, actually.
Excuse me.
I'm
no,
a citizen.
No, I don't.
Yes,
No,
you have 4,000 here. I work for the citizens.
Okay.
What you getting so agitated about? What?
Mrs. Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Berman. Brayman, B-Boys, I'm not sure which one, but anyway, I'm concerned about the sewer.
Okay.
Here's the bid.
Let's get to the
Okay,
point.
authorization
Mrs.
to reject.
Stone, Mrs.
Okay.
Stone, listen to me, please.
Okay,
Let me
250
finish my statement.
Here I am talking about the waiving of the
I'm asking
bids.
you to let me finish my statement.
I'm
still the chair of the meeting.
Yes, you still are.
Please deal with this issue.
I am.
Well, you're not. You're talking about
I'm
everything
talking
but.
about the sewer
Please
televising. Are we on televising?
We are.
Thank you.
First of all, I should remind you that.
You're going to use up my space, though, talking.
First of all, let me remind you that all these issues that we talked about,
Yes.
as far as the pricing, was on the internet, and you could have accessed it. So when you said that you didn't have the information, that's not necessarily true.
Well, aren't these public meetings for dialogue?
Please get to your
Why
point.
don't you just send us the rules and we'll sit home and let you make the law? Is that what you
Wait,
want? I
no.
still have 2 minutes and 55 seconds. If you continue to talk, you're using up my time. Now, I'll finish asking my question about authorization to reject all bids, waive bids, and award contract 2012 sewer televising. That is my freedom of speech. I'm exercising it regardless of the Trustee Berman just left. Trustee Trilling started hollering at you about me. Trustee Ottenheimer almost yelled at people. It's very clear, and that's not respectful, men. Okay, I live in the community. I was a former trustee. I am still a citizen. And the way of government is the people are on top. You work for the people.
And we have rules, and rules have to be.
And I'm
this has to
following
be
them.
relevant to our discussion.
And I'm relevant.
now,
I'm
please.
real relevant. I am so relevant, it's
Then get to
bothering
your
all of you.
point.
I'm inside relevant. Okay. My concern is that on August 30th, 2012, bids were opened for sanitary and storm sewer televising for the year 2012. 7 bids were received for the project. The apparent low bidder, National Power Rotting Corp., NPR, had a mistake on its bid pricing sheet. The bid price of the linear of alternate I, heavy cleaning was bid, yada, yada, we talked about it. Due to the error in the bid, staff suggests that the board reject all bids, which I would hope, because I'd like to always look when there is waiving bids, that there is the healthy process of competitive bidding, which is not meant to exclude your favorite people, but it's meant to make sure that we always get the best price for our money, the most bang for our buck. There's about $63 million a year. You guys do line by line, or in some, maybe miss some pages. It keeps it clean, like the Clean Water Act. Anyhow, the televising that worries me is the whole issue with our runoff and where our waters go, our toilet water going into the Lake County Public Works domestic and industrial wastewater facility at 800 Cross Drive, Buffalo Grove, 60889. It serves 10 communities, and the Picara wells are right next to where it actually, the outfall is of 001, STP.
What has this to do with the
Well, it has to do with health. You're not a doctor. You are a doctor of law. You are a jurisprudence doctor.
The issue here is the televising in the
Okay,
bed.
I'm confused which doctor you are. You're a doctor of law, not medicine.
Please get to the issue at
Okay.
hand.
Okay. The issue at hand is, I would like to know that the sewer water, is that the water that goes to, that you're televising and watching closely with your televising scope? That you're waiving bids, but you caught the error and money, which I appreciate whoever caught that. Now we're talking about it because it was on the consent agenda. It looked like it was buried, but I'm glad that you're encouraging people to look at the consent agenda so nothing's buried that other governments might do. My concern, though, is that the water that's runoff from our toilets or from the rainwaters that go into the Lake County Public Works Domestic and Industrial Wastewater Facility at 800 Cross Drive, NPDES permit IL00220055, that where is the people on the Bacara wells, and are you bringing them Lake Michigan water finally after 3 years of me telling you so?
Okay, thank you very much for your
Thank
comments. There's a motion, a second. Please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Aye.
Trilling. Sussman.
Aye.
Tursi.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is authorization to waive bids and to request proposal mosquito abatement contract. Summary, staff requested an authorization of waiver bids to allow staff to seek out proposals for mosquito abatement services for 2013 mosquito control season, with possible options to extend a service contract beyond 1 year. Mr. Bragg, can you please comment?
This is a request for us to issue a request for proposals for mosquito abatement services. We have historically used Clark Environmental for this service, and we want to see what the services are out there that can be offered to us. It may be a single year or a multi-year contract, depending on what the proposals come back with.
And this is just to request proposals, not for execute an agreement, and you will come back to us with the proposals and a proposed agreement. Is that correct?
That is correct. Proposals are due back to the village by October 22nd, and then would be scheduled for a board review thereafter.
Any questions by the board? None?
Do we need a motion?
Please.
So made.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion from the board?
Hi, I'm sorry to be so pesty tonight, but you've got a lot of environmental issues up, and that's kind of my thing, as a human rights activist focusing on water. I do focus on pedophiles, as you've noticed, and heroin as well, and I do think pot should be legal because it would make more money for our state. Because kids may smoke pot, you don't want heroin and rat poisoning in there. But I don't want my kids to smoke because they're going to be big doctors from Duke. Anyway, done. Point being, why I'm up here at this point, I say big meaning that they're human rights activists too. And Bev Sussman taught them science, so I appreciate that, Bev. Anyway, my concern about the mosquito spray is that someone called me. They still call me. I'm not a trustee, but people call me all the time. You know Bonnie George came to me about the pedophile shtick.
That's the point.
Okay. And other people come to me. Trustee Trilling, can I have your attention when I speak? No? I hope the camera got that. Then you shouldn't be elected again. Because there's others like me, thousands, all over the country now. And they're watching you and your friends closely.
Attacked by a bug, that's the problem.
Okay, well, thank you, Bev. You guys have used up some of my focus during that time. It's distracting to me. Well, then if you caught the bug, mazel tov. I appreciate that. Thank you for saving my old science teacher. Jordy and Jed, I'll tell them. Anyway, my concern about the mosquito abatement, to be serious, is that they're spraying it like at 3 in the morning or so. Now, I understand I don't want to get West Nile. I don't like bugs either, Bev, trust me. That's what I fear. I don't fear humans, but I fear bugs. Anyone that knows me, I'm not scared of anybody, but bugs blow my mind. Anyhow, in those chemicals that I'd asked a long time ago when you did that $100 contract, I'm going to ignore all of you talking, Mike Turson, that really shouldn't have been there anyway, but anyway, that I asked for all contractors that you're charging everyone that does business in Buffalo Grove $100 a year. And long ago, even before I knew of the landfill, I didn't know the landfill was there. It was shocking. And then there's Emerald Ash Borer right next to it. Well, no kidding, when they allowed the quarantine to go north of Lake Cook and west of Milwaukee to give Land and Lakes permission to bring Emerald Ash Borer, because they do composting on top of their landfill. Anyway, forget the 32 acres of landfill that's really 40.8, but who knows where it is, and if it has liners. But the mosquito thing. What are those chemicals? Are they healthy? Who's checking them? Because I know we get the gold award for nothing or just for using good paint and household cleaning in the village, but no one cares about landfill water, runoff water, pedophiles, heroin. But you care about Robert's rules, so I'm keeping them now. The question is, do we have any criteria for that mosquito spray so that it might not be worse than West Nile itself? Can someone answer that? Do we have a doctor on the board? We've got doctors of jurisprudence. Jeff Berman's quite successful, likes gambling. Trustee Trilling's an engineer. I like gambling too, and I lost 150 at the track this weekend. I just wanted you guys to tell the people about the gambling you brought, that failed anyway, you know? Can you tell me about the mosquito spray? And I understand I'm not conventional, but I just want answers already. Solid answers, like in a deposition and interrogatories in the books and stuff that I taught you guys. American jurisprudence. I worked for Lawyers Cooperative Publishing, bought out by Thompson, owned by Westlaw. I sold LexisNexis in an infancy form when it was Verilex. So yes, I understand what I'm doing.
I don't think you taught attorneys up here.
No,
Okay.
attorneys and judges. The ones that aren't attorneys and judges, paralegals, or big librarians. Anyway, point being, can someone speak to the toxins? 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Do we have anyone capable? Can we ask Boyson or Kinkler or Brian Sheehan? He's Chief of Health. And by the way, Brian Sheehan, I honor him. That man has got our back, of Chief of Health and Zoning and Board. He's been here forever since my pit bull law. He should be the president and the mayor all at once and the village manager. Truly. Trust me. You guys, I was a trustee that could be trusted. My point being, what is in the spray that goes around at 3 in the morning? Is it worse than West Nile itself? Are you buying green or healthy? I mean, can we put Bev Sussman in charge? She was a big science teacher at Twin Groves. She was my kid's teacher. Can we let her look at what's in the chemicals to make sure that it's not worse than West Nile itself? Can I make a motion for that? Is that possible? Or can we hire someone, like when I got the pit bull law, I asked for Tops Kennel Alex Rutherford to do the criteria if any dog acted potentially dangerous of any breed. But the pit bull Rottweiler breed specific law that I got that was called the Stone Ordinance said that Rottweilers, pit bulls had to be walked by 16 and older, and you had to have a fence and a 6-foot non-retractable leash. Even Rottweiler pit bulls liked the law. I want to know what's the criteria. We had Alex Rutherford to decide from Tops Kennel if any dog was dangerous, if they bite someone. What's our criteria for the spray you're buying, and what are you buying? That's my question. Thank you. I'd like an answer. I'll wait by the next meeting or in the public that they're hearing it. Put it in the newspaper front page. Tell us what it is. I finished before the bell.
Thank you. Trustee Sussman, did you want to respond?
I was just going to say, Mrs. Stone, if you had just asked that one question, you were up there 5 minutes. In 30 seconds, it has nothing to do with the time you're allowed. In 30 seconds, if you had just said, let's find out what's in the spray, that would be a good question. Why didn't you just ask that question? But that was the important part of your whole discussion.
Okay. Trustee Stein?
Thank you. Brian or someone in the room, can someone just explain what the process that the company goes through with the chemicals that are certified for use and approved, et cetera?
Both the Northwest Mosquito Abatement District and Clark Outdoor, who handles the Lake County portion of the village, use EPA-regulated chemicals. They're all approved by the EPA, the United States government, and they're fully vetted, they're fully tested prior to being approved.
In any contract we enter into, I would assume, Mr. Asa, would include that only chemicals approved for this type of use would be used, correct?
That would be correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman.
Aye.
Tersen.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. The last item, authorization to bid 2012-2015 tree removal services. Summary, staff requests authorization to bid a tree removal contract associated with Emerald Ash Borer response pending final review by the village attorney. Mr. Bragg?
Thank you, Mr. President. This authorization would provide us the ability to request proposals for tree removal in 1,000 trees in 2013, 2,000 trees in 2014, and 3,183 trees in 2015. All of these would be EAB-related removals, and the concept that we're working under is that we do not have adequate resources to complete the removals in-house. This will allow us to expedite the removals as the infestation escalates.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So made.
Is there a second? Any questions, comments by the board? None? Anybody from the community? You asked to be taken off. You asked item L to be taken off the consent agenda.
I'm sorry, I was seeing on the next one. I'm sorry, I apologize. Yeah. Let me get up here. I spaced out for a minute. Sometimes I actually count down.
You couldn't prove that by me.
For one letter of the alphabet, I was quiet. I took my break for letter L. Had a little nap. Okay. Okay, here we are. 1 second, please. Okay. Okay. Well, my only concern, I don't want to be redundant, but I think I made my point about the trees. And I just want to make sure that you do, are we on L?
We are.
Okay. I just want to ensure, just as when I was an elected official, I took an oath, and it would have lasted till April 2013, but it will last the rest of my life. Because when Judge Levinson swore Bev and I in together on the same Bible, and it's all the same Bible for everyone, whatever Bible would have been fine. Point being is that when you're doing competitive bidding, as we all know, there's a point to it. And if you just have your favorites, and if you work it out where you get low bids, and then it doesn't work, then no one else put in bids, and it all turns out to the same. They're always the same contractor. And I understand sometimes, like with Chapman Cutler, where Trustee Berman's wife works, I get it. They're the best bond company. But it's good if you'd have put it on your form for those 9 years before I found it, it would have been healthier, a little sunshine.
That has nothing to do with this
It does.
issue. No, it doesn't. Get to the, what is it that you want to talk about this issue, please?
The point is that there's a process for healthy government.
This process
And
is asking
I'm
for
saying it. There is only one, to have healthy government, sunshine is the only antiseptic or disinfectant. If you're going to put things under consent, and you're not going to do bid wavering or, competitive bidding, and if you're just going to waive bids.
Did you read this? It says
Yes, I did.
authorization to bid.
I understand. All I'm saying is that when you go through the process, there's a pattern in Buffalo Grove, and not just you guys, don't take it personal, it goes on all the time. And now it's a well-known process, and then you don't have a healthy system in government.
Okay, this is an authorization to bid. That's what they're asking us to approve, an authorization to bid, not a bid waiver, an
I
authorization.
know, I'm just giving you.
So what's your objection
I'm being
to that?
preemptive. I'm preemptively saying, please, please.
Call the question.
We understand.
And I appreciate, and that's all. That was simple. See,
there's a
look at me. I did it in less than
There's a
5.
motion, there's a second, please call the roll.
Berman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman. Aye. Turson. Aye, that's DMI.
I do have a question from the audience, though, Jeff.
Please.
Aye.
Stein, Ottenheimer.
Aye.
Thank you.
When you'll get his back later on. Okay, next, if you have a seat, please.
Is there any questions from the audience?
Well, in due time, please have a seat.
I should go there and back? Okay.
Questions from the audience. Questions from the audience are limited to items that are not. Please have a seat. No, I'm asking you to have a seat because you may not be the only one who has a question. Questions from the audience are limited to items that are not on the regular agenda. In accordance with Section 2.02.070 of the Municipal Code, discussion on questions from the audience will be limited to 10 minutes and should be limited to concerns or comments regarding issues that are relevant to village business. All members of the public addressing the village board shall maintain proper decorum and refrain from making disrespectful remarks or comments relating to individuals. Speakers shall use every attempt not to be repetitive of points that have already been made. The village board may refer any matter to public comment to the village manager, village staff, or an appropriate agency for review. Is there anybody, if you could raise your hand, who would like to speak? Okay, Mrs. Stone.
Well, Trustee Berman, I wanted to speak to you, too. Should I wait till you come back? Okay, well, anyway, Trustee Berman's not on the BEMA or whatever, what is, I always call it the wrong thing, Bev. The dais, sorry. Well, I'm here to speak about Betham, so BEMA would be the right word. And I'd like to say that I know that Buffalo Grove is looking to build a performing arts center, which might be why Trustee Berman just left, it occurred to me. Anyway, my concern is this, is that in being of the Jewish faith, I want all the best for Beth Am, you know. I obviously know Trustee Trilling is a member of Beth Am. I was until I think last year. I know I see you, Jeff, during high services. I'm sure you buy your tickets, you know, like my cousins do when they come that aren't members, but I was a member, you know. Anyhow, they didn't make it. Beth Am didn't make it. Rabbi Belgrade, I don't know why he wasn't there after several years he was gone. He's what built the shul, but anyway, he does have, I think, Chavan, B'nai Chavana or whatever. But either way, Beth Am is not making it, and I'd like to know why. During these hard economic times, people are worried about paying taxes, and they're worried about paying extra taxes for what appears to be this bailout, is how I see it. And the property and the building that you're buying to build a performing arts center, when people are losing their homes, they can barely live.
The village board is not building a performing
No,
arts
the Park
center.
District.
Well, that's the Beth Am building you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that should be discussed with the Park
Okay,
District.
okay, I know.
Now,
Okay,
and I should tell you, we are going to have a meeting.
Okay, can you just let me finish my thought?
I'm trying to tell you
This is public comment. I actually have 10 minutes. When you interrupt me,
I don't want, you're making
you don't want me to talk at all.
misstatements.
Okay, that's a question. Let me make the form and then you'll answer me. Let me finish my question though, Jeff.
tell you, so maybe
You are
your question will
hurting,
be
you are hurting your
irrelevant.
chances of anything in government.
Lisa, I'm trying to help you.
You're not helping me. You're actually confusing my thoughts. Now
No,
let
you're
me
not.
finish.
I'm not.
This is the question. The Park District owns the property of various things in our communities. I guess that area, they own part of it. And our taxes that get put on the water bill, like for Town Center, I think it happened. I think it's happening now again, that's where it gets buried, is on the water bill, if I'm right. Something to do with capital something bonds, maybe. I don't know. Either way, anyway, the point I'm making is that people can't even afford their homes. They can hardly afford higher taxes. So you're building a performing arts center. I know because Trustee Berman loves drama.
We're not building.
We are not building a performing arts center. That is the Park District. If you have an issue,
I heard.
direct it to the
Okay, I
Park
will be.
District.
Okay, I'm sorry to direct, because then Mike Turson works for the Park District, but he's a trustee. That's how come in '09 you guys didn't want him to run, because you thought it was a conflict. But you do work for the Park District. So can I ask Trustee Turson in his Park District hat?
No, he's here as a trustee, not
Well,
from.
how do I know which he is then?
Get to your point, please.
Okay, well, can I direct it to you, Mike? Do you mind? Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, finally, we've reconnected. I will. I'm sorry I severed you from my Facebook page in '09. I had to, but now there's a chance. Anyway, my question is that the Park District owns, or they're the ones where the taxes will come to the people on the Park District taxes, or will it be on their water bill? Where will it be? And more importantly, or where do they put, like, where are you getting the money to build this performing arts center, and how much is it?
We told you, we're not building.
No, but he's the Park District.
He's an employee, he's not.
He's an employee. Okay, so I'd have to go to the board of the Park District.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Okay, well, you know what, Jeff? Then I've got a beef with the wrong board. I'll bring it to the other board. Where's the beef? Okay? Anyway, the point being is that either way, and I love drama. In high school, my first year, I was in a drama. Jeff, you're in great dramas. I see you in all of them. You're fabulous. I wish you'd keep it to drama and not government, but that's my own personal choice. I could vote or not vote for you. I'm not going to discuss voting because it's not the place. But I'll make my own personal choice in the ballot box, and you know it won't be for you. But you're a good lawyer. And I know you were partners with Dick Devine once, and he was a state's attorney, so obviously you must be pretty good. And your wife's a good lawyer at Chapman Cutler. And we give all our bond work. I just wanted you to write it on the forms for 9 years and expose it. Anyhow.
Mrs. Stone, that's the second time you brought it up. You know.
I could bring it a third time.
Discussed
Oh, and I didn't like it then. I still don't like it.
inappropriate innuendo.
It was inappropriate that you didn't put it on your exposure form.
Not required to be on there.
Well, then you should have, because you should have been ethical and you're a lawyer. Why didn't you put it?
Ethical.
That's not ethical.
Are you accusing me of being unethical? I want
On
to
that
make it very
issue?
clear. Are you accusing
On
me
that
of
issue?
committing a crime?
Not putting it, no, it's not a
Are
crime.
you accusing me of committing a
Well,
crime?
let me,
State yes or
I
no.
will. And if I'm a U.S. attorney one day, I'll tell you right to your face. When there is a form that you're supposed to expose, if anyone in your family makes more than $500 or $5,000, you did not put that your wife, Jane Berman work for Chapman Cutler, and you should have, and you're an attorney. Now, is it illegal? I don't know. You're the attorney. You tell me.
Are you making an accusation?
I'm asking you. I'm asking you a question.
No,
You're an
you are
attorney.
making an accusation.
I am
I'm demanding that you withdraw
And I'm demanding.
right here, right now.
I can't. Then tell me that you show me that you signed it for 9 years. I saw blank documents. I'm sorry. I'm asking you a question. Is that legal, or is it ethical, or is it both? I don't know.
I answered the questions that were posed in appropriate way.
Okay, why didn't you put her name on the form?
Mrs. Stone,
Mr. Berman, I asked you a
has
question.
been addressed.
You said it wasn't
have been
required.
told previously.
Because it was not required. Next time, I would have been preemptive, and I put it, by the way, when a kid applies to college, good, bad, or otherwise, they put it. Because that way it's not haunting you. And I found it.
Fantasies are not what's legally
Fantasies, well, you want, next time I'll FOIA and I'll bring them.
demanding that you withdraw your
You can't demand anything of me, because I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth on that, and you know it.
You're full of baloney is what you are.
Really? Then I'll FOIA and I'll bring them next time if you'll put it on the overhead. So you're saying from 2000 on, you put down that your
Mrs.
wife...
Stone, you know I didn't put it down there because it didn't need to be down there.
Oh, then you
Now, that's
didn't.
the end of
Thank
the
you for answering the
question.
good. You didn't need to. Okay. I didn't say it was illegal. I just want to question the ethics.
No, you
are accusing me of an ethical
No, you accused
violation,
yourself.
And I'm asking you to withdraw that accusation
I didn't
right here,
accuse you.
right
I asked you
now.
the question. I'm telling you I cannot withdraw something that I didn't accuse you of. I asked you a question. I cannot withdraw the question. But you answered it. You said it wasn't required. I understand. Then I guess
And
Bill...
that's been told to you
Well,
repeatedly.
and it bothers me repeatedly.
For you to stop making accusations
Well,
that are
I think,
unfounded,
okay.
whether
I
they're
will not
directed
question it
to
again.
me or to anyone
Well,
else
by the way,
on this board or on
I will
the Lake County
consider,
board.
I will consider your advice, Mr. Berman, and whether I ask something again or not in my life will be up to me. And if I feel like I've made my point long enough and hard enough, then I'll stop. But don't tell me what to do. Okay? Don't demand anything of me. Okay? You got rid of me from government, and you caused the worst nightmare. You gave me more time, and you're feeling it. And Gary always said, oh, are they foolish? Now you understand why. Don't tell me what to do, and I won't tell you what to do. Although I am a citizen, I can ask you to do things. I just want you to be upfront, direct, and honest. And if someone says you don't have to, say I'm going to anyway, because I just want people to know.
So I'm
okay?
supposed to make up questions and answer.
I made up the question.
Is that the answer?
Well, since I brought a fact, let's go to fact. You talk about the robe, the emperor without a robe. It's not an accusation, it was a question. I hurled a question. I hurled a question, you hurled the answer, I understand it wasn't required, and you talk about the emperor without clothes. It's you, Trustee Berman, not me. Good night.
Yeah, well, you have no case. Yes, please.
Chuck Posniak, 555 Estate, Buffalo Grove. I wanted to thank you all for doing such a great job you do. I'm sorry that you have to listen to some of this crap from some other people. Realize that 70% of the voters in Buffalo Grove said she wasn't capable to sit up there. Realize that. We did the right thing, and thank you all again.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Mr. Mathias?
Sidney Mathias, 440 Parkchester Road, Buffalo Grove, Illinois. President Brayman and members of the Village Board, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm here to clarify my position regarding a recent letter sent to various media by members of the Village Board, and to communicate to the residents of Buffalo Grove. It's imperative that we separate fact from perception. So let me now be very clear. I do not support Lisa Stone. Again, let me be very clear. I do not support Lisa Stone. There is no collaboration between us. Again, let me repeat.
Please. Nobody interrupted you from the audience.
There is no collaboration between us. I have never supported her political agenda, nor her methods or behavior at Village Board meetings. Again, let me repeat that. I have never supported her political agenda, nor her methods or behavior at Village Board meetings. She is not now, nor has she been affiliated with my campaigns for many years. Furthermore, I have told her not to use my name in her statements and blogs. Lisa Stone and I have very different views on many topics. To be specific, I believe that the water in Buffalo Grove is totally safe. In fact, all three governmental agencies, the EPA, the IEPA, and Lake County, have certified the water to be safe. I believe those reports. Further, Mayor Brayman and the village board have carefully and intelligently managed the village in most difficult of times since the Great Depression. As a 32-year resident of Buffalo Grove, I applaud and thank them. As state representative and as the former mayor of Buffalo Grove, I have learned that our democracy and effective local government rely on open, intelligent, and solution-oriented discussions of important issues. In addition, there can be no place for character assassinations and name-calling directed at public officials. And a refusal by any citizen to follow the courtesies that allow our model of government to work successfully is totally unacceptable. I am confident that this will finally put an end to all of the misperceptions. Thank you for allowing me a time to speak here today.
Thank you. Next item, no, you already spoke. Next item is well, we're going to believe executive session for personnel, Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act. Is there a motion to go into executive session? Is there a motion?
Made.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Can we just sit up here for a while and enjoy it?
Mr. Reyes, is there anything you want to say? Yeah, we need a roll call. We know.
Aye. Trilling.
Aye.
Sussman. Aye. Turson.
Aye.
Stein. Aye. Attenheimer.
Aye.
Motion carried.